interesting news.
Spilling the tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Brought to you by J. Michael, fashion for everyone. Good morning, Sandy.
Hello.
Good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing today? Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
What you got for us?
Awesome. So, of course, I think everybody is watching. Is it officially a hurricane? To be honest, I haven't looked yet this morning.
Yes.
I'm assuming.
Sustained winds of
definitely
80 miles per hour right now.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No, but expect it to be a Cat 3 when it lands
it will
tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Well, we're going to be checking in with Floridians a little bit later on in the show to see Cayman and Floridians to see how they're preparing for the storm. So, of course, I think everybody's trying to take the necessary precautions. But yeah, that's going to be quite interesting.
It looks like it's going to steer just a little bit north now of Tampa, which is great for those people.
Yeah.
Does that mean St. Pete?
St. Pete, is that north of Tampa?
St. Pete. Well, no, it's going to be, St. Pete is like right.
Is that right there at Tampa?
Right there at Tampa.
Yeah, a little bit north of that. So more Gainesville, Tallahassee, and even Atlanta.
Panhandle, kind of more.
Yeah, Panhandle, yeah. But Atlanta looks like it could be in for an actual hurricane.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That's
know. Unusual.
It is unusual.
Huh. Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue to monitor that. We'll do a check-in, like I said, today to see what our folks are doing. We have the Ministry of Education launching an anti-bullying campaign. So just in time for the new school year, they have said that they are launching the National Schools Anti-Bullying Campaign to ensure that children learn in a welcoming and safe environment without the fear of being bullied. So the ministry is going to create awareness about recent amendments to the Education Act 2016, the provisions of the anti-bullying school regulations, which I did not even know existed, which issues surrounding bullying in schools, addresses those issues, and how these legislative changes will impact them.
Well, I will address those issues if anyone bullies my kids in school. And I'll address those issues with my child if they are the bully.
Yes. Yeah, I hate to think about what I would want to do or how I would handle if my kid got bullied.
Or if they were the bully.
Because you want to protect him, right? You want to be Papa Bear, Mama Bear.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And sometimes some of these schools, I mean, my kid's school is really good about this and does keep an eye on it. But some schools, you have to address it by adding this kind of stuff into it because there is no oversight at some of these schools, I hear.
It's pretty bad. We've seen, a number of times even highlighted on this program, the fights and stuff that are happening in schools. And a lot of it is surrounding, a particular child or group
and the parents and the parents that are like condoning the kids' behavior of being bullies.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen parents claim that their child is the victim, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
When the other parent is showing me, just insurmountable proof that is not the case, and parents just live in denial.
Yep. You can't. You have to parent your child, even if it's the bad stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we'll, make sure that everybody's aware of that. If you're a parent, please go check that out. Tamara Ebanks has been appointed as the Chief Officer for the Ministry of Investment, Innovation, and Social Development. So congratulations to Ms. Tamara. She's been serving in the post now for the past 14 months, acting. And they say that after a rigorous recruitment process and a panel interview that included 2 professionals from private sector, she was selected for the post on a permanent basis. She comes with over 2 decades of experience within the civil service. So congratulations.
All right.
Yes, the Cayman Islands Coast Guard undertook a rescue of a vessel over the weekend. So some footage of that in case you guys missed it. It was a nighttime rescue, in fact. And they say that the CICG Operation Rescue Coordination Center was notified that there was a 15-foot vessel with 2 individuals on board that was experiencing some difficulty in the Rum Point Canal. So the distress call went out, boat crew was deployed, and they were located about 2 miles east of the Rum Point Canal, and they brought the vessel in safely. So congratulations to the Coast Guard. This is some of the stuff that they're, tasked with doing. So it's great to see that it's working according to plan.
All right. Awesome.
Yep. I think that's kind of it. Kind of a slow morning. We had a little bit of.
Well, you got to work harder then.
Listen, we had an incident yesterday that hasn't really made the news yet. We don't have a lot of information on it, but there appears to have been some sort of a drowning yesterday at spots later in the day, like after 4:00.
That's scary.
Yeah. I mean, we only know about it because everybody was like, Sandy.
Dangerous place to swim.
It is. And I worry about the kids when they get older.
I did it once and
never again.
Never again.
Yeah. But I heard that the person's a 21-year-old, but it doesn't seem to be, we don't have any other details. So I'm assuming the person is not a local person because we probably have a bit more information. But as soon as we find out more, we'll definitely be sharing
that current out there.
It's bad, I know.
Yeah, we'll carry you out to sea.
Quick.
Yeah,
very quick and kind of.
All right, guys, that's it. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, we'll catch you on Bobo 89 point.
Good morning, everyone. We got about 15 seconds left in the program, or before we go live on Bobo. So I'm actually testing it this morning to see how precise our timing is. So just give me 1 second while I pull that up.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's community radio. We are still spilling the tea. And committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
Trust that everybody's well. Happy Tuesday morning. Good morning to everyone. All right. Happy Tuesday. What's going on, folks? Looks like we've got more rain in the forecast. Hope you guys are well. Let me just send out my links to everybody on the WhatsApp list. Wake them up. I know they're sitting there waiting like, oh, Sandy, where's the link? I'm like, you can always find us just by going to Facebook, YouTube, radio. We're there. Not to worry. We're there. All right. So we've got a lot of ground to cover today. Wow. So many things going on that some mornings I don't know where to begin. I got to be honest with you. But, it's paradise. I feel like it's not paradise lost. That's for sure. Some days it's like paradise rediscovered. But we're going to shine a light, as the theme song for the Cold Hard Truth says, and all the little corners that need to be addressed. Because honestly, it boils down to folks us being as transparent as possible. It's there are days when it's a difficult conversation to have, and there are days when I'm sitting here exposing people that I might genuinely like, and yet I know that they're doing something wrong. So what am I going to do? I'm going to just tell the truth, expose the situation, and hopefully through the exposure of the situation, we are going to be in a better position, of people not thinking that they could hoodwink the system. Nobody gets a pass. Have I made that clear? do you think that maybe there's some people who still think, oh, I'm going to get a pass because I'm from West Bay and maybe I'm family to Sandy, or I don't know, I am actually family to her. We are friends for many, many years, so I'm going to get a pass. Wow. I hate to tell you all, but unfortunately, that's not how it's going to work or how it has worked here. It's challenging because, like I said, there are times that I get a whiff of information and I start digging, and I'm so disappointed in people, like legitimately disappointed. 936 Bobo is a telephone number. We got a fully charged phone this morning. So, of course, the phone lines are open to take your calls. What do you do? Before we get into the substance of the matter this morning, what do you do when you find out that someone you may like is up to no good or they're doing something wrong? Human nature normally means that we turn a blind eye, we ignore it. We see that all the time, right? That's why when I sit here and I talk about, politicians, just an example, they're easy to pick on, I suppose. I talk about them. You guys think, oh, Sandy just doesn't like him. And I'm like, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. A lot of these guys are likable, but being likable does not give you a pass. Listen, McKeever Bush doesn't have a 45-year career in the world of politics without being likable, without being charismatic, without getting people to follow him, sometimes extremely blindly. Alden McLaughlin, likable guy. It has nothing to do with, well, let me be clear. It has everything to do with likability for the average person. But for me, I try to separate the two things. Whether I like someone or not, I try to be fair in the circumstances and look at the evidence that's before me and just try to, pull the situation apart. It's challenging, but it's a necessary thing to be done. So hope you guys had a restful night. I was actually up after 2:00 this morning into the wee hours of the morning, putting together a Cayman Voices segment. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. It's Mr. Brainard Watler. He passed away over the weekend. And I do want to acknowledge that situation. I'm going to tell you guys a bit about it as well. So good morning to Miss Juanita. Damien is here. Damien, I've not seen you in a minute. Where have you been hiding out, sir? Miss Vernita is here. Debbie's in the house. Patricia Blake is joining us. Everton, Ja Rover. Hey, Ja, missed you. I see you sporting a 345 shirt this morning. Yes, I just saw Raymond's like, don't forget to send us the links. No, I got you, Ray. I just wanted to send out a little pre-message, but here we go. Coming right up to the WhatsApp group right now. I feel like I'm in the market for a new iPhone this year because, boy, this one looked like she'd be moving kind of slowish. She's sluggish. She's like, I need a vacation. Good morning to Leroy. Miss Morna is in the house. Hello, Miss Morna. Stephanie Brooks saying good morning to CMR and Sandy. Have a great day. Thanks, Steph. Appreciate it. Olivia is here. Wee Wee is also joining us as well. So good to see you. Miss Anne Marie. Hi, Miss Anne Marie. How you doing, honey Jim? Good morning to Miss Marjorie. Wishing everybody a good day. Evelyn is in the house. She says good morning to the CMR Massive. Vicky says hot topic, hot Tuesday gossip. Who I get blast today? I'm ready. Have my coffee and dumpling and butter. Ooh, dumpling and butter. What kind of dumpling you talking about? Is that the boiled dumpling or like the fritter? Because some of y'all be calling things all kind of things. I'm like fritters or fritters, but y'all be calling it dumpling. So what kind of dumpling are you having with butter? That sounds very, very enticing. Those of us trying to watch our figure, we're like, ugh, dumpling and butter sounds so delicious. Felicia, morning to you, my dear. Sanya is here. Good morning, Miss Sanya. Hope you're feeling okay today. Miss Alba, buenos dias. She says, ¿Cómo estás? Bendiciones. Sandy, ¿cómo estás? Alejandro, ¿cómo estás? Buenos dias. We're going to start talking to Alejandro in Spanish. Coral, so good to see you. She says, good morning, Sandy, and everybody else on the live. Stephen Nicholson joining us from the UK. Stephen, is Miss Miss Darlene here. It looks like you guys had some kind of Caribbean carnival or something in the UK. I saw a couple of people posting stuff on Facebook. Was that just in Leeds, or where exactly was that? I'm not 100% sure, but I saw her posting someone who had on, Miss Darlene, if you're listening, she was posting someone who had on Cayman, one of those Cayman shirts, and I chuckled to myself. Well, it says Yorkshire. Well, she said proper Yorkshire accent. Gotta love here so much. My home away from home. So they had some kind of a carnival event, and of course, Cayman was represented. The flag. She put up a little picture of the Cayman flag there, and some other people were there. She made a comment about some nice roast corn, lots of delicious Caribbean food. So I think it was some kind of Caribbean carnival of some sort, representing all the way in the UK. So thank you, Miss Darlene, for sharing. It's so good to see when people overseas, they're able to share these tidbits on social media. Here's the young man who is walking around wearing and representing in his Cayman shirt. Look at that. The 345 being represented. Hey. Very, very nice. Thank you again, Miss Darlene, for that. We appreciate it. Let me, I know we're going to be checking in with a few people this morning. I think Kevin might be joining us. I think Miss Ann is going to join us as well about, the hurricane that they're preparing for. But now we're hearing that maybe it's not going to be as big of a deal for the Tampa, St. Pete area. It might actually be going more north. So we gotta get an update from Kevin here this morning. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Lots to go on. All right. So let me see who else is here. Aliano is here. Says that Cayman think this hurricane is gone. Now can I get some work? Okay, I'm not sure the hurricane's related to that, but all right. Damien, good morning to you. What a lovely turtle for your profile picture. Liana's in the house. Alejandro says, hopefully we'll all get a break from what? The hurricane? Leroy bringing jokes first thing this morning. He says, Leroy folds out his chair in the back of the class. Oh my gosh. Oh, Aliano's waiting for tours. Aliano, you might want to start thinking about something else to do in life. I hate to bust that bubble, but just yesterday I had some people in the tourism busing sector who were complaining about the glory days are done for tours and stuff. So maybe we can spend some time talking about that. But I think that, it's not just about the numbers per se, but I think there's a couple of the factors that are impacting the size of that pie, so to speak. Yes. Miss Barbara, good morning. Still hoping that little bird of yours returns safely. Siobhan is here. Marshall, Nikki. What's up, Nikki? Are you traveling anywhere? Nikki's always traveling, living her most fabulous life. I love it. Oh, Damien says, I'm in the UK, so sometimes your show happens while I'm in class. Oh, thank you for clarifying. Yes, prioritize class first. We don't want you skipping class for CMR because you can watch us later on YouTube or Facebook. Buenos dias to Daisy. Miss Bonnie is here. Saying good morning to everyone. Beverly. Hey, Jim. He says, morning, my darling. Yes, honey chill. Ogre is here. Blackberry says boiled dumplings and butter. Yes, boy, I could go for some boiled dumpling and ackee. Just put it like right on the top and some little breadfruit on the side. Oh my gosh, delicious. Instead, let me sip on my tea. Alejandro says back of the class applications ready to be accepted today. Never a day too late. Oh my gosh. You guys need to sit in the front so you can see the blackboard and you can see everything that is going on. Miss Vicky confirms, yes, boiled dumpling. So you're just eating it with just butter and that's it? Marshall says dumpling and butter is not for him. He's watching his waistline. Oh, thank you, Damien, confirming that the little Caribbean festival, what was it called exactly? Caribbean Carnival was in London and Leeds. Nice. Alejandro says, no way, Sandy. Spanish, not for you. You might get way more confused because my English is terrible. You know, I studied it for 4 years when I was in high school. And when I got to university, it's a requirement that you take a foreign language. So I was like, okay, I'll do Spanish. And they were like, actually, you would be at college level, I think 2 or 3 or something, which exceeded the requirements. So they're like, you don't have to take it if you don't want. You still have to make up the credits for your degree program, but you can do something else. I was like, oh, okay. When you're a poor student, honey child, trying to save money, you take the out. But you know, I've always, anytime I travel, like I go to like Honduras or Panama, whatever, and for a couple of days, it starts to come back to me. And I've had people there say, you know, if you did like a 6-month immersion, like you just stayed in Panama for 6 months and spoke nothing but Spanish, you would actually be fluent in 6 months because your basic fundamental like pronunciation is pretty good. Your understanding is pretty good. I know a lot of words, but you do forget stuff. Congregation of the verbs can be a little bit tricky. But they're like, you know, you would pick up on this in 6 months if you actually just immersed yourself in the language. I was like, really? Bueno. Charm says it's Leeds Carnival and Notting Hill in London. Okay, honey child. Representing Caribbean folks all over the place. Leroy praying for Florida. Yep, we're going to check in here in a minute and see Wagwan over there. Miss Olive, thank you for joining. Liana says mini wage talk show is today. Oh, it's tomorrow. Oh, minimum wage. Oh gosh. Let me try and read that properly. Minimum wage talk show is tomorrow. Please, everyone, show up and voice your opinion. So they're having another, but this one is just the virtual meeting, I think. But yes, they're going to be winding up here shortly. So folks, if you've not had an opportunity to express your opinions on the whole minimum wage situation, by all means, your time is running out. So please, make haste, get on it and let them know where you sit on this and what your position is. I think everybody's looking at their pocket going, well, I can't afford to pay anymore, but everybody wants more, but nobody can afford to pay more. Well, we'll see. Good morning to Sean. How are you? So good to see you. Strong Wilt is in the house. Alejandro says, when you love what you do for a living, you thug things out stronger. That's right, honey child. Yes, Miss Marjorie, there's more than, she says there's 2 Damiens here. Yes. I think your son Damien is in the house, and then there's another Damien, at least 2. We always have two Darlenes normally. We have 2 or more Barbaras. Yeah. So Aliano, sorry, says, yeah, I understand that for a while now, but packing shelves for slave wages is off the agenda, or construction is a hell no. Well, I'm not saying you have to pack shelves or do construction, but I'm saying, what's your plan B? During COVID, I thought everybody in tourism kind of started to look at alternative options. Have you considered it? Like, what's the plan? Maybe it is no longer driving a tour bus. I'm just saying. So you've got to think long and hard about what that's going to be. I'm just saying. You know, sometimes you have to be prepared to retool yourself as well in life. You know, you've got to get out there and go back to school and do different things. A big shout out to the Resembed program over at UCCI. They've had their first cohort that graduated. In case you missed it, you can go to our Facebook feed. It was on Saturday evening, and we shared the graduation. Congratulations to Gary Franklin. He actually was the valedictorian. So he gave a nice little speech there. And, his area, again, talking about retooling yourself, this is what made me think of it. He actually did solar. And this is someone who has an IT background, interestingly enough, but, saw the need to expand his horizons a little bit. Leanna says there are more car thefts happening in Georgetown area and police are not doing anything pro-trolling. I suppose that they can't patrol everywhere. So you guys know the sensible things to do. A lot of these guys who are out there, going into your vehicles, they're just opportunists, sorry. They just do whatever. They grab on your door handle, it's open. Yes, they're going to go in the car. So what you do is you make it a little bit more challenging for them by locking your door, not leaving any valuables in your door. I keep telling you guys about the dash cams. One of the benefits of the ones that I use is you can actually do a hard wiring feature, which means that even when the vehicle's off or you're not in the vehicle, certain things will trigger it to record. And so that's important. And because then you've got the evidence to provide to the police should any of these individuals go inside of your vehicle. But they are very, very much opportunists. Believe me, they are just looking for a quick chance to, you left your car door open. Most of them are on drugs, so they're looking for change, anything that they can offload quickly in terms of valuables to get a few dollars, to get a couple rocks of cocaine or crack or whatever it is that they're into, right? I think most, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is not an area of expertise that I'm going to claim to have at all. But are most people here who are on drugs? I'm talking more about sort of the local population. I know there is a distinction. And in fact, the distinction is that people who can afford, I guess, cocaine, maybe that's the preference, but I don't think a lot of people can. So is it mostly just crack that these guys are on? Like when you see them, just driving up and down the street, is it crack? Or what exactly is it that what are they doing? What form of drug addiction do they have? I'm a little bit curious about that, if you guys might actually know. I mean, I always assume that it's crack because that's what I'm hearing from, people, but maybe it's something else, or is that still the drug of choice for most poor people? That's your drug on a budget. Good morning. Strong Will says you're making me hungry. Chad, can I just tell you something? Let me show you speaking of making you hungry, let me show you what showed up on my timeline just now that was making me hungry. And I just messaged Chef Remy, said, I miss you. I should have really properly said, I miss your food. But it sounds better if I say miss you, right? Look what just showed up on my timeline. Lord have mercy. Woo! I tell you what. Speaking of making you hungry, this is it looks like a lobster and fish combo dinner. This has got to be Chef Remy. He likes to use these beautiful flowers when he does a lot of his dishes, the purple flower. It's actually edible, Oh God, I can taste the crunchiness of those vegetables right now. He never overcooks the vegetables. Oh, the lobster looks divine. The papadon bread. Oh my God. Chef Remy, hello. Good morning to you, sir. And then look at this. Some appetizers, samosas, and those look like what are those other ones there? I forget what they're called. But anyway, all delicioso. And then the dessert, it wouldn't be food without a good dessert. Hello. Check that out. Sticky toffee and some nice ice cream and berries. Oh my God. I just made myself so hungry this morning. Oh, Lord. I should have married a chef, honey chill. Woo, what a heat. I'd be like 500,000 pounds. I'll do a number. No, I'll do a number like Gigi. Oh, when she says numbers now, it's so funny. She'll be like 1 million zillion thousand. I'm just like, what? Child, that's not a number. She's like, well, it sounds good. Is that a big number, Mom? And I'm like, yes. Good morning, Keisha. Vicky Alejandro says, in school, they said I can't take Spanish class. So I'm not as privileged as you to tell me I'm saying something in Spanish wrong. Huh? So you couldn't take Spanish because you were a native speaker? But you know what? A lot of people speak Spanish and they need to take Spanish. I'm just saying, because they're learning it like from a mom or whatever, and they're learning it like slang and Spanglish and all kind of mixed up. Yes, they can speak it, but sometimes it's not always the best. And then, when you learn a foreign language, don't you want to be able to be fluent, like in writing it and everything as well? More like a professional level, not just a street level. Like, you know what I'm saying? Talking to your mama in your native tongue might be one thing, but being able to go in a work environment and answer the phone, speaking Spanish is a totally different situation. So I don't think they should exclude you from it just because, but then again, it's not like they're really getting you to the conversational level with most classes, right? I remember when I was doing Spanish, we used to have this one guy, he was Cuban, who taught me, I think that was year one. So this would have been high school. No, I think I started it in the 7th grade and then I did high school as well. So he would have been 7th grade. I can't remember his name now. But anyway, he would make you stand in front of him, like 2 students, and he would force you to practice your Spanish with each other. And my goodness, he was very, very interesting. He would just sit there. Oh man, I wish I could remember his name now. I can't remember names from high school, child. That's going way back. But yes, he would sit there and he would just like stare straight ahead and then correct you if you said something wrong. And then he'd say, no, it is hablando. And you'd be like, okay. Sí, señor, hablando, and blah, 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 whatever. And then, you had to, he'd make you practice rolling your tongue. So in class, we would literally sit there and just roll our tongues, like not pronouncing any word. He was like, you just got to learn how to flip that tongue. And at first it's kind of hard. And then after a while, it's like kind of fun because you really know how to manipulate your tongue. And then certain words, you need to be able to roll the tongue, the double R's and stuff like that. So we would sit there like a little motorboat and go, and that was something that for English speakers, it's not a natural thing. So you really had to learn it, honey chia. I find languages to be so fascinating. There's some languages that I do not like how they sound. I'm going to insult somebody this morning. Oh God, I should stop while I'm ahead, right? But I think the Arabic language in particular has a very guttural sound. It's not the only one, but it's the one that's coming to my mind right now. It has a very guttural sound to it. Like it comes from deep, like, and it almost sounds like everything they're saying, they're upset with you. And I'm just like, what? Then you have the Romance languages, like the French and the Spanish and Italian. No matter what they're saying to you, they could be cursing you out in Italian, and it still sounds so nice and sweet. You're like, what did you just say? So super, super interesting. And then I had in high school, I think that was a female teacher. Anyway, for Spanish class, I remember this one. I almost remember exactly where the classroom was at my school. She would force us to talk. Like we had one day, I think per week, where we couldn't speak in English at all. So when you showed up to Spanish class, even if you were talking to your friends in class, you had to speak in Spanish. Yeah. And so I had a girlfriend named Cecilia. And she was actually from, I'm trying to remember where Cecilia was from. Was she from Colombia? It was either Colombia or Ecuador, somewhere there. Maybe, was she a Colombiana? I can't remember now. Maybe Colombia or Ecuador. I can't remember. One of those countries. Anyway, so she was obviously fluent, but she was still in Spanish class. And so we would sit there, and she ended up moving, like as an adult, she went into the military and she became a dentist in the military. Super interesting. So anyway, her last name was Garin. I always remember her last name, Cecilia Garin. Anyway, Cecilia and I would sit there and try to speak Spanish. So I remember this one day I had this episode of, oh my God, it was just so wild. I'll tell you guys about it one day, story time. But basically, you know how I tell you I have a little bit of a intuitive, like sixth sense premonition kind of thing? This was one of those instances that really, really stood out for me in life that I'll never forget. Like something came to me in a dream. And so I went to class and I was telling her about it. And I explained to her in Spanish as best I could what happened. And then later on the day, we had PE together. And she was like, "Oh, Sandy, why don't you follow what happened in your dream?" And my dream was 1,000% spot on. Like I couldn't, step by step, like I could have just written a book. It was just so, like, it freaked me out, to be honest, exactly how it all went down. But yeah, we were sitting there in Spanish class and I was trying to, that was the day when we had to speak only in Spanish. And I was trying to, like in Spanish, explain to her what had happened, what I had dreamt about that night and what had happened and whatever. So yeah, we had one day a week for Spanish class where it was like, you know, hablando español solamente, nada más, nothing else. So only Spanish. And it was actually a good way to really like force you, you know, when you know that you're becoming fluent in a language, like when you're really starting to be fluent. And this is where I was. And I really wish I had continued my studies, but it's one of those things where if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Like most things in life. You don't use your brain, you lose it. You don't exercise and keep your heart pumping, you lose the benefits of that, right? So you start to dream in the other language. Yeah. Like you, those of you who are bilingual, what language do you dream in? Do you dream in both languages? Do you flip and flop like between? Well, I started when I was in high school and really into Spanish. I started to dream in Spanish. Like my dreams were in Spanish. And I understood what was happening. It wasn't like, you know. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Damien says, "Don't take the blackboard now for flat screen TV programming, y'all." Miss Morna says it's hard to sit in front of the class because we have some people sleep over at CMR classroom. So those that come in a little bit late, they have to sit in the back of the class. Ask Leroy. Oh my gosh. But Leroy is normally here on time, you know. Mm-hmm. Morning, Miss Iva. So we have Leanna promoting her back to school Miss B's janitorial services. Okay. 10% off CMR special. Link up, link up. The details are there. Alejandro said he was catching iguanas. Alejandro, let me tell you something now. You can catch iguanas still. They're still about, it's a little bit more work to find them because they're starting to reemerge. I saw a baby one last week, so still get out there. But you know what you could really do a good hustle with? Chicken culling. People will pay you. There is a guy who's doing it now. He's charging $10 a chicken. And there are people who will pay you to cull their chickens, gladly pay you, because these chickens are next level nuisance. All I'm saying is if you're good at culling, there's not much difference between a chicken and an iguana, to be honest. Cull them same way and make some dinero. And there are companies that pay. You know what the situation would be at Cayman Bay if they didn't have him go and cull there every once in a while and clear out the chickens? Child, you would never be able to sit there in peace. There are companies that will pay you to come and cull on a regular basis. So he's got his regular clients. That's a whole new business, honey child. Sean says, what's going on with the jobs in Cayman? It's been really slow right now in construction. And he's a professional tiler. Well, I guess, Sean, there's cycles to everything in life, including even construction work. And I hope you know, Sean, that it's going to slow down even more. I want y'all to think about something for a second. What massive construction projects, I'm not talking about on the residential side, more on the commercial side. So the DART organization had one one building that recently completed. That's Nexus. What is it called? Nexus Way, something number 9 Nexus Way or something. So that building is done. That was a massive. How long did it take them to build that? That was a massive project. And then you've got the Indigo Hotel, which is another massive project. I believe that after, I'm trying to think if they've got anything else. They finished the one over by Foster's. That's like across from there. I don't know what that building's called. So that's it. You know, they're not going to have any massive, and of course they employ, I would assume, hundreds upon hundreds of people on a job site like that easily. They don't have any construction in the pipeline for a while. So you talk about, Sean, construction slowing down, you're going to really see it probably slow down here in a minute. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's a driving force for the economy. There's a lot of construction workers here, and that trickles down in more ways than one with rentals and everything else. So on the residential side, I kind of don't know. I mean, there's a couple projects like in South Sound and whatever. I don't know if big developers like Davenport, like what he's got in the works. So there might be a few other projects that are coming up, right? But yeah, I think things might in fact slow down. Mm-hmm. So morning to Luis Damaris. Oh yes, Alejandro. Leroy says if he didn't tell me about the man sleeping in his car. Oh yeah, he was cursing over the weekend. Cursing, like really upset over the weekend about the situation. Damien says crack, it's fentanyl now. Where you been? I don't think in Cayman it is. I think it's still very much crack cocaine. Although there have been some discussions that maybe some of the stuff that's coming in might be laced with fentanyl. We've had a couple of people overdose in the last year or two and died. I don't know. The authorities aren't really saying a whole lot in terms of the fentanyl on this island, but you can assume that there is a very, very strong possibility that any cocaine or any crack that you are dabbling in could also be laced with fentanyl. And that's a chance that you're going to be taking. I don't know of anybody who is on crack or cocaine or whatever that is sitting there testing the product for fentanyl beforehand. They're the test kit. They're the test dummy. They test it in themselves when they, use it. And next thing you know, you've overdosed and you're dead. Well, then, oops. Yeah, I guess it had fentanyl in it. Man, that stuff is deadly. My goodness. So I still don't think that that's primarily what's here, though. So Garrett says it makes no sense to be excluded from Spanish class just because you speak it. Why didn't English native speakers get excluded from learning English? Well, we don't really learn English. We just do like language, literature, and writing, and they're not really teaching you how to speak English per se, but they are teaching you how to use your English skills. I guess so. Still language in a way. How to put your sentences together. But we learn it from when we're in kindergarten. You start to learn it, right? What's a verb? What's a noun? All this kind of stuff. All right. I know Miss Anne is trying to get onto the link. Kevin, you can jump on at any time. We can talk about the storm. Miss Marjorie asking about that lobster. I trying to remember where that would have been from. That was 8 years ago. Let me see. I think this is when he had the restaurant there in East End. Chef Remy had a restaurant. I believe that's what that would have been from. I used to enjoy going there all the time. Yeah. Yes, honey chill. Oh my God. Do you guys want to see a throwback moment from 4 years ago when we first got started doing the show? You want to see how bad it looked? Look at this. Hold on. I got to share this with you. On this day, 4 years ago, this is before we had fiber, honey chill. Oh, Flo, thanks for the $5. By the way, big shout out to Flo. I got some birthday merchandise from them. I was finally able to pick it up over the weekend. Appreciate it. Some cute little things that they gave me. But boy, this is back when the connection was not the best. We were struggling with connectivity here in Lower Valley. Look at this screenshot from this. Look at how poor the quality of the stream is. Ooh, honey chow, things have improved. And this was my first makeshift studio. Boy, have we come a long way. I was actually in my home gym, but still had my little flag in the background, still had my little CMR sign and everything. And yeah, had a little computer desk and stuff set up there. And that's when we started to live stream. And look at this title. This is so interesting. The title of this one was The Cold Hard Truth, Local Media Struggling, ? What happened to Cayman 27? This was a show that we did. I'm going to give you guys a link for this because you always got to go back and watch a little bit of history of how far CMR has come. Irvelin, look at you in the comment section from way back when. Leroy was there. Kevin Watler was there. Aw, you guys have been with me the whole way. Look at that, my little sweet oh my gosh, you guys are too sweet. Y'all gotta give somebody sugar. Look at this. This is such a throwback moment. Oh my God. Whoa. Look, yeah. Look, there's Irvelin in the comments. There's Leroy, and there's Kevin Watler. Isn't that funny? You guys been with me from day one. So sweet. Siobhan was there saying, I joined pretty late, but what did they really not even warn the staff? Siobhan all up in people's business, even from back then. This is one we were trying to figure out, or we were having a discussion about what happened to Cayman 27. It was a combination of things, to be honest. And we really dug deep on the show. And in fact, this was actually a really good show, minus the bad quality. Oh my God. Woo, honey chow. The quality of that show is next level messed up. Woo, no sir. Oh, thank God things have improved. Let me show you all this screenshot. This one looks crazy. But we actually had, what is this guy's name that used to be over at Cayman 27? Oh Lord. Kevin Watler is gonna have to help me out with his name here. But anyway, yeah, we had him come on the show and he was kind of giving his opinion as someone who was actually working with the organization for a number of years, kind of what he thought happened and what went down. So yeah, Leroy was all up in the comment section. Mr. Denver was there, Neela Seabanks and others from way back when. And look, I mean, that episode 4 years ago still had 3.7 thousand views. I got to be honest with you. I really appreciate you guys so much because honestly, from day one, we started this show and it has been a hit from jump. Like it really, has just taken off. Oh my gosh, look at my little dumpling. Look at Gigi eating a banana. Oh my goodness, look at that little face. This is 5 years ago. I'm reminiscing here. And it says device not connected, but I do see you there. So I think you got to just sort out your camera and stuff. But look at Miss Gigi 5 years ago. She would have been 2 years old, enjoying a banana in her car seat. So there is me and it was his name Kevin also. I'll ask the other Kevin. He's not Kevin Morales, but what is his name? I can't remember now. So yeah, what a throwback moment, huh? Cayman 27. It disappeared over 4 years ago. What a hot mess, Joe. Let me see here. Let's see. Nikki. Hey, Nikki. Are you in the UK, Nikki? Are you still over in England enjoying the good life? Marva, good morning. Alejandro says you took the cake when I came on 27 dipped. Well, Leanna says that we took over Cayman 27. I think in some ways it was only a matter of time, to be quite frank and honest. And in other ways, the advent of what we were doing on social media really made it hard for Cayman 27 to keep up. Because by the time the 6 o'clock news came around, if you were someone younger than 75 and had access to social media, I mean, you can have access to social media and be over 75, but it kind of dips down in terms of the numbers. You already knew all that news. It was like old news. Like they were telling you about a murder that happened the night before, and we had that on CMR from 5 minutes after it happened. So I think there's a number of things, quite honestly, that killed traditional TV on this island. And Nikki is saying, speaking of Cayman 27, I still wonder if it was deliberately tanked so that the only available news source would be government TV. That was my speculation back then. I don't think so, Nikki. I think it was a combination of things that happened to it. First of all, it was never profitable. So I think that people have to appreciate that if you get into a business that isn't profitable, you've got to have a game plan for how you continue to run it, not have it be profitable. Unfortunately, history is repeating itself, even with the Compass, when you think about it, right? And this is why when DART took over the Compass, I said, hey, what's the alternative? The alternative, folks, is that it's going to die a painful death, just like Cayman 27. If you're happy for the Compass to die a painful death and you say, hey, this is just the nature of things and that's how the cookie crumbles, then it is what it is. But the only entity on this island that can have a business and not have it be profitable there's two of them, CIG, so government. They're not in the profit-making business up to a point. And the DART organization would be the other organization that could take on something like this and try to float it for a while. Is the DART organization going to float it forever if it never is turning a profit and it still remains top heavy? Only time is going to tell. I mean, I don't know that. I don't know what the transition will be for the Compass as time continues. It's an interesting question, quite frankly. But at this point in time, the DART organization is trying to save it. Is it going to be enough of a lifeline? I don't have that crystal ball. I mean, I think it really just depends on how much DART, how much money he has to waste. They still make money, but I don't think it's enough to maintain their level of profitability given their staffing and so on. So who knows? But I think one of the things, Nikki, that a lot of people, and you guys should go back and watch that segment. I'll put it here. Did I just put it in the comment section? Go back and watch it because we really explained it quite well, I think, even 4 years ago. And we delved into it quite deeply. But one of the interesting things about it is that when Randy Marin purchased Cayman 27, he knew Cayman 27 was not profitable as a model. Now, I always thought, Randy's a smart businessman, but this was one of those decisions that I never quite understood. You're not going to buy a non-profitable business unless you have a plan on how to turn it around. What always saved Cayman 27 in the past is that it was owned by entities who had the TV side, Westel, Logic, whatever. And when they split it apart, it was just the Cayman 27 on its own. All of a sudden, it became an ongoing concern that they really couldn't afford to pay their bills. They couldn't afford to pay staff. So the other thing that concerned me about the decision at the time is that, okay, you buy a non-profitable business, and the first thing you do is take out a loan in order to purchase the business? And you take out that loan from DART? DART financed the loan? I was like, this is where I know DART has a lot of money to waste. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, why? DART's a businessman as well. Why would you do that? I mean, what kind of plan, did Randy provide to DART to say, oh, this is my golden egg of how I'm going to make Cayman 27, which has never been profitable. Now make it profitable for you to loan me millions of dollars to purchase it. Something wasn't adding up there. I think that honestly, the DART organization probably just did it as like a favor to just try to keep media alive. It didn't work then. Is it going to work with the Compass? I don't know. So, but one of the caveats, of course, when you borrow money from DART, the DART organization, they're not stupid. So one of the things that Randy had to do was had to move in to Cayman Bay and pay rent to DART. So you're repaying the loan, plus you're paying rent. And I was thinking, ooh, you probably could have found a cheaper location. I'm just saying. And so, of course, there was that as well. Randy had an idea in his head. Kevin, I might need you to reach out to Anne to help her get connected because I'm seeing her, but it says device not connected, so I can't actually pull her in. She needs to give access to her mic and stuff. So maybe reach out to her, Kevin, for me, please. See if you can assist her. And then we'll swap the conversation over to the storm. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that Randy did is I think he miscalculated something because at the time, now Premier Panton, you guys know that he has invested in C3, for example, him and Randy, business partners with some ventures and so forth. And although he had nothing to do with Cayman 27, there was an understanding that Randy Marin would be lobbying the premier, who at the time was a minister of, I forget, whatever the heck it was, some ministry. He would be lobbying him and the PPM government of the day to actually get them to force the other companies. Because remember now, all of the other providers, Flow, Logic, everybody who provides TV is supposed to have a local TV element per off-reg, per ICTA, whatever. And none of them have it. As far as I know, there is no local content. And so his idea was like, okay, Cayman 27 is the only ones who are actually producing local content. So if we make it necessary for them to carry it, then they pick up our local content and they pay us for it. So I think he had a plan in his head about how that was going to work. Nobody else picked up on it. The local telecoms are like, we're not going to do that. Although it's required by law, we're still not going to do it. And so he wanted to have that done. And I think that would have put him in a much more comfortable financial position. And that simply never happened. And then that government kind of got out, and the next government, which is still PPM, but more of a coalition government, that he didn't have anyone really going to bat for him, and then he went years without paying his government fees and protests, he says, but nobody gets to do that. Right. So, I mean, I can't sit here and not pay my business licensing fee, but continue to operate and be like, well, I'm going to do this anyway. Government's going to say, really? At some point, 3-4 years later, they're like, you need to find the money. And it was a substantial amount of money that he had not paid. And so I think he called their bluff a little bit, Nikki, thinking that the government would have saved them, would have saved Cayman 27. After all, it's the only TV station left. They did this big thing on, remember back on Rooster on Crosstalk, a big farewell show. And I think they believed that the government would have succumbed to the public pressure. And the government was like, nope, sayonara, you're a private entity. See you later. We'll just do our own thing. And remember how initially they'd actually partnered with the Compass, because, the Compass has been the golden child for a minute. They initially partnered with the Compass where, they would do it was never fully explained what they were doing. But anyway, they had a CIG GIS partnership with the Compass where they would do news. I don't know. And then CIG TV kind of came out of that as a result. Now, UCCI has a media course where they still do kind of TV style stuff. You can take some training in that. But let me be very, very honest, folks. The world of media has changed so much that even traditional TV stations, right? They are, you see them like a news reporter out in the field by herself with her iPhone live streaming the news. That's how it's going down in this day and age. You don't have people running around with a camera anymore. Kevin, I might pull you in on this conversation here as well, because obviously you have such a wealth of experience in this area. Is Anne going to be okay? Is she going to be able to join us, do you think? All right, let me pull you in so I can actually hear you. Hey.
Yeah, she has an Android. Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, everyone.
An Android. Ooh.
Yeah, so and I don't know how to navigate.
No PC.
No, she was using her
Oh,
phone to call, and that was the issue. So she said
okay.
just to
So
give her a call.
we
And she
might
will be
just have
able
to
to
do the
call.
WhatsApp call then. That's fine.
Yep.
So we're having a little bit of conversation here this morning, Kevin, about media again and the changing face of media. 4 years ago on this day, I was talking about the fact that Cayman's 27 was done for, and it's just so interesting. A lot has changed even since then. But I was just saying that now in news you have traditional news platforms that you don't have a camera, you don't have the benefit of a cameraman anymore. You're out there gun and shooting it yourself. You have your iPhone is really your camera now, or your smartphone, and you're live streaming by yourself. You just set up your little tripod and hope that the wind doesn't blow it over as you're covering hurricane. What's her name, Idalia?
Dahlia, yes. Mhm.
Yeah. What's your take on that aspect of the conversation this morning?
It certainly have changed a whole lot. I mean, when I first started out at Cayman 27, well, actually I started off at Radio Cayman, but that was for a short period of time before I went to Cayman 27. And back then, it was reel to reel, which for those who are not familiar with that term, it was literally tape that you had to record your footage on, and then we would take that back to the station, upload or copy your stuff on a system that they had, and then we'll put our pieces together. And soon thereafter, it wasn't too long thereafter, we went more to a digital form of editing our news videos together, and that allowed us to kind of just clip. But we still had a photographer and the reporter, which would be me or whoever else it was, and occasionally you actually had a field producer go out with you as well too, especially for certain larger stories. But again, that quickly went away as they started to look at the budget, because in news you really don't make a whole lot of money. And so they would be looking at ways to tighten things. There was a time when I was at Cayman 27 that I would say not even double, but we probably tripled our newsroom size, thinking bigger might be better, that they were really going to take this challenge on, as well as they just wanted this mass beast of a company that did not work out so well. Around that same time as when we went from standard definition into high definition, that was a very costly project. And then they had to start saying, okay, we're going to start cutting back staff because we want people, the view of the management was they think that people would watch them more if it looks better. So even though we had a team that was on top of things, because when I first started at Cayman 27, it was like yesterday's news. But then we were able, with the team we had, keep more current and cover a very broad spectrum of the different things that was going on. Not just in Cayman, but we also had a regional news segment as well too, when we were that large, and we had talk shows right after and all that sort of stuff going on. But again, going to a different vision where they wanted it to look prettier, but we had to scale back staff. The HD upgrade was significant. It was a very high cost, so they scaled back some of our staff again. And then we had different investors. I remember over the space of a few years, we had a few owners. When I left Cayman 27, it was right at the time that Van der Meren did take it over. The way it worked was we all got, a payout or resign under different steps. Well, the lower pay, lower benefits, or we could just take the big payout. We all got paid out and stuff. And I just did not re-sign a contract, but I did retain myself as a consultant because I was the web guy, and no one else understood the website, and they didn't have anyone to do it. So I was, even though no longer an employee, I was like a little contractor. By that time, I had had my heart surgery, and I remained in the United States, and I was just working remotely, updating the website, and trained the replacement person. So I was doing that for about a year after I was technically not an employee, and then I was completely away from Cayman 27, which eventually, not too long after that, went dark, which was a very sad day for anyone that worked there, because just seeing, even in my practically just about 10 years of being a part of the Westar Cayman 27 Logic family, because it was a bunch of merging and stuff back and forth. It was Westar, then Logic bought Westar, and like again, we went through so many different sales and stuff, and going through all of those changes and seeing the vision that they had. It was very heartbreaking. The last broadcast, I remember watching that, and just about everyone that was there really teared up, because it was like, oh my goodness. Backing up a little bit more, there was a time when broadcast television was also at risk, and I know April Cummings had led kind of a Save Local TV initiative, a campaign, and people didn't quite understand the significance of that. It was one of those things where we want to have local TV, but you got to support us by paying for it. You have to pay for it. You got to have advertisements, and a lot of those advertisements that you saw on Cayman 27, a lot of them were not even paid advertisement. They were trades. You don't make money on trades. And so, at the end of the day, they had to pay the bills, and the broadcast side of things was where the money was. And so as competition came in, and they said, well, we don't need Cayman 27, and they cut it. So for all news folks, for people my age and older, it was really heartbreaking. But at the same time, now that I'm here in the States and kind of seeing the way people consume information, that's not how they were consuming information. We could have been working our butts off to provide.
It was only a matter of time.
I mean,
if it didn't happen in 2019, it would have happened by now. And I think that there's some things in life that are inevitable, and you're just hanging on to kind of something that is, yes, it's nostalgic. Yes, the older folks, really liked Cayman 27 for what it was, but it just wasn't sustainable for a number of different reasons. And so it was a combination of, you're not paying your government fees, times are changed, yada, yada, yada. The older generation is going to be left behind a little bit in terms of traditional TV, but even them, they're getting with the program. More and more I see older folks on their phone, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to, go watch something online. So they kind of understand a little bit more about how to consume news on the fly. And all
let's not even look at just news. Let's look at another thing: CDs or records. I mean, there was a time that was the way we got our music. We don't get our music that way. So those stores, I think about from the business Funky Tanks, how long that they had CDs there. And by that time, MP3 players and other forms of getting your music, it changed over time. You get stuck with all that inventory, but people aren't buying it because that's not the way they're listening to it. I don't know anybody now that really is on a hunt for a CD. Yeah, you might have one or two from time to time, but I cannot tell you the last time that I ever used a CD. In fact,
and listen, cars don't even come with them anymore.
Correct.
It was so funny. A couple months ago, I sold my HRV, and I remember the lady who was looking at it going, oh, does it have a CD player? And I looked at her like what?
What for?
I'm like, I haven't seen a CD player in a car for years. Even my previous car, which was 5 years old when I sold it, didn't have a CD player, didn't come with one. I was like, lady, I mean, I have a whole collection of CDs. I think we have one of these now where you can do like record, CD, tape, like thing in one. But nobody has CD players anymore.
No,
it just doesn't exist.
Back to news, Sandy, with the changing of times. And the writing was so much on the wall, but they did not wake up, because when I first came at 27, they didn't actually have a position for me, even though I had the first scholarship from the television station. They didn't actually think ahead. Oh, we need to have a job for him when he finishes university. Well, anyways, April was the news director at the time, and she was able to create a job. She says, people are talking about this website thing. Figure it out. You run that. And so I was the web producer, and was doing that, and I had to figure out how to make this thing work. It was an old website thing that just was so it just did not work very well. But eventually, April also very technology savvy and stuff. She and I worked together. had a gentleman that was in the States that helped rebuild the website. We launched a new website, and we formed a great product. I think the only other news website that was in Cayman prior to us was was it Net News, or was it, there was another one. It was, the writing was green, the look was green. I can't remember if it was Net News, but that one had went out from before. It died. It was not updated weekly even. It had a website, a news presence on their website, but it wasn't really being maintained. So we really became the champion of a news website. Cayman 27 did.
And there's a couple, now that you say that, I was thinking about, what was the name of the one that Elio Solomon had started? Do you remember what that was called?
I cannot remember his either, because I remember.
Does anybody remember what Elio? I might message him this morning. It was called something with politics, though. It had more of a political thing to it. Elio.
I can't remember. Yes, he did.
Oh my God. I'm gonna ask him. You know what?
We had quite a bit starting to pop up.
Thank you, Denny. Denny got it. K-politics.
But
you know, back, unfortunately, one of the issues that you have happening with something like K-politics is once he got busy with politics and other stuff, that kind of fell to the wayside. It was no longer a priority. And that's why I say to people, even what I do here, I discourage people for more reasons than one, really. But from saying to me, oh, Sandy, you should get involved in politics and you should do this and you should. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys are here every single morning enjoying this platform. We've got the online website. We've built this product and this platform, and it's doing fantastic. And now you're asking me to go and divert my attention somewhere else. I'm like, why would I do that? You know what I'm saying? There is so much more that needs to be done here, and I think sometimes the general public doesn't recognize the danger of encouraging people. I mean, I have no intentions of doing that, but I'm just saying, of encouraging people to go into a different area, not realize that what's going to happen is the product here, CMR, would actually suffer as a result of that. And to me, that makes zero sense. You know, this is my passion. I might be also interested in politics, but I think that, you know, I'm in this position and this is exactly where I need to be. You know, K-politics, I remember one time was so hot. That was like Johnny Cakes, man. That was like the hottest thing coming out of the kitchen. Everybody was on it. People were loving it. Everything was like, oh, go check K-politics, go check, you know. And now we can barely remember the name.
Right, exactly. And of course, Cayman News Service had really taken over, and our biggest web competition ended up being Cayman News Service, CNS. You know, a lot of people know it by, but that was a time that Wendy was in her prime as well too, where she was pushing out so many stories, and she was, you know, hitting some very hard topics, giving people the cold hard truth on a lot of things at that time. But she slowed down a lot, and again, the way we're consuming information has changed a whole lot, and I'm seeing that more and more. And I saw that again at Cayman 27, where the website wasn't enough. That's when, remember BBMs, BlackBerry messages? That's when I started, you know, sending out BCMs, the BlackBerry, you know, broadcast messages. And at that time we had,
you know what I miss about BlackBerry as opposed to WhatsApp? You could send, no matter how big your BBM list was, you could send out messages to as many people as you wanted. WhatsApp limits your group list and your notification. I see Chuck is jumping in here on this conversation. This is fantastic. This is what I love about talking about, you know, this amazing platform. I love that I can see Chuck just jump on and say, hey, he wants to be part of this media conversation. Let's do it.
Some of Cayman 27 people are messaging me right now too, Sandy. I'm not going to call the names, but they're messaging me. But I know they're not going to come on because of where they work and stuff. But
yes, they're paying attention, right? Yeah, Chuck, good morning.
Good morning to everyone. I had to jump in on the conversation. I was listening to you, and it's just, you know, technology with any media house has changed so much in the last 10 years. I mean,
oh my gosh,
I remember
for sure.
Just to put into context, doing traffic, a helicopter was needed. You're talking maybe 4 or 5 workers, ground crew. You had to establish air patterns over $2 or $3 million just to get your traffic. Now, a couple of cambers, maybe a $400-$500 drone, and you can see everything that is related. So cost has jumped down. So a lot of businesses weren't understanding of the model change. And I think that's where even radio, a lot of radio stations fell in the US during that boom because they never kept up with technology. Literally anything that you see now is 3 to 4 years old. If you bought it tomorrow as, hey, this is the newest model, it's already 3 or 4 years old just by design. So the way how we get our information now has totally changed. And it's all about content. You know, we can't be everywhere at the same time. So what a lot of bigger businesses have done is made every individual their reporter.
That's right. And that's what CMR did. I mean, that was one of the game changers for us, because even now, sometimes I have kids and even some adults walk up to me in the grocery store and they're like, how do you be in so many places at once? And I say, I don't have to be, you know, because of modern technology. Yesterday afternoon, there was a drowning at Spots. I have people message me, hey, do you know what's going on at Spots? There's 2 ambulances. There's 1 fire truck. There, you know, they gave me the whole, I got a video clip of it. You know, I've got, you know, and funny enough, that I was in traffic coming up by Hurley's. I passed the 2 ambulances, the fire truck, everything, you know, flying into town, passing me. And I already knew that somebody drowned at Spots. And it was as simple as that. Right. Even before the police get around to issuing a report, you know, they're still, when it comes to their press releases and media, they need to get with it, because they'll send out stuff. Oh, they don't really work on weekends unless it's a major incident. And so, you know, we're still pumping out stuff, and we might say, hey, we don't have all the information. We don't know all the details of what happened, but we know that there was a fatality this morning. We know, you know, that this is going on in the BRAC. And, you know, the police come a couple of days later and then they get upset because they feel like we're trying to usurp their, you know, official version of the story. And we're like, no, but the people want the consumption of the information almost instantaneously.
The information is there. It just needs to be disseminated to the people, and they want a trusted source. They may not want all of the information, but they want to know, hey, this is happening.
Look at Leanna. Leanna says somebody drowned, and Gareth responds, yeah, that's old news. So,
yeah.
You know, she wasn't, maybe she missed that post, but yeah.
Right. Information travels so fast. I'm at work right now on the radio station, but I heard the conversation and dived in and said, okay, you know what? I want to give you this information. I want to talk about this because it affects my listening public as well as every other listening public, because our phones now are our radio. It's our TV. It's our computer. We walk with it in our back pocket. You know, it's always on. So you're always at 3 o'clock in the morning. First thing you do, you roll over, get a glass of water. You check what messages has happened while you've been resting. You know, because information is content, and content is what drives our society. It's just how it is.
Absolutely. Miss Ann, we see you in the back studio. We're going to come to our hurricane discussion a little bit, but I mean, this is just so fascinating and so interesting. You know, technology has definitely been a game changer, because even what I do now with the resources that I have, I would dare say 5 years ago, this would have been maybe not impossible, but it might have been cost prohibitive. It would have cost me a lot more money to be able to do this, to be able to stay in a home studio and live stream on radio. You know, Chuck, I was telling someone the other day about how this show got started in Bobo. And I said, you know, when DMS said, hey, you know, we're going to do this new, very different, you know, radio platform. And I liked the idea. And they're like, do you want our headline spot in the mornings? And I was like, okay. But the one thing I'm not going to compromise on is I'm not going in a studio. I'm not leaving my house to go do a radio show. And they're like, no problem. You don't have to anymore. You know, so
I know we've had several conversations about how to get it done. And I will tell our listening public, you know what, you are probably one of the forerunners in the Caribbean with us. No one else has kind of moved in that direction. They're still dealing with the traditional way, or they may only use one video media, not both. And the reason why I think it is important is that we still have both technologies. And a little FYI for the folks listening, part of the reason why you still have radios in your car is because they realize that that medium can't change. They tried it with Sirius XM radios and satellite radio and video. It did not work. So they went back to the old medium. We say, you know what? We're going to upgrade you to make sure that you still have the faster, the clearer technology. If you want video, great, but it's not going to be the only medium that you have. That's the reason why a lot of places still give you cell phone numbers, because it relates right back to the technology of the data. You know, you can have digital all the time, but at some point in time, you may have an analog phone, because not everywhere resorts to that. So we have to be aware of the old technology as well as the new.
Yeah. There's still that kind of crossover that exists
Yes.
between the two. So incredibly fascinating. We're taking a little bit of a, jog down memory lane. Somebody says, Sandy, speaking of technology, do you remember receiving via beeper run by Island Electronics? And I must tell you that the beeper era, I don't think I ever owned a beeper. I think the beeper era kind of missed me somehow. Like I transitioned, just because of the age, I transitioned very, very quickly into, a phone. It wasn't obviously a smartphone back then, but I transitioned into the old time brick Nokia phones and stuff. So I didn't really ever own a beeper, but I knew people who had a beeper, and I understood the concept of, getting messages on your beepers and stuff like that. But gosh, they didn't, I don't know how long beepers were in for, but they didn't seem to last very long, right?
Well, I remember having that because with the job that most radio stations do, we kind of are always on call. So that was a great way to be connected a lot. So what you had was you had a cell phone, but the cell phone was limited to just text message. And a lot of times you didn't realize they were not that great at it. So beepers was a great way to, when you didn't have service, because you have to understand, only in the last, I would say, maybe 12 years or so, we've had really great. If you go anywhere else in the world, cell service is marginal. It's okay. It works, but they do not have the luxury that Cayman have. And that's what I tell people all the time. We have the best infrastructure. We're actually even better than the U.S. in certain parts, because I can go in certain states.
Oh yeah,
and there are
even right in
dead
Florida.
zones.
I mean,
Yeah,
trust me.
I can be in Alligator Alley and driving through, and there are dead zones that I can't. And I'm like, wait, hold up. I should be getting service all throughout the state, but it doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. No, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, just a couple miles from Sawgrass, and staying with our cousins for the weekend. And I'm always flabbergasted at how poor their internet is at their home. I'm like, this is America, for God's sake. You guys should be blazing one tera gigabyte, whatever it is, speeds on the download, and it's just not happening. So I think sometimes, because we don't have that perspective to actually know what's going on, we make assumptions, and we think we have the worst quality service and stuff in the world, and that's definitely not the case at all. And I was having a throwback moment. Look at this from just 4 years ago, Chuck. Look at how the quality of this platform has improved. I mean, you can barely even see my face in this. It was so fuzzy. And in large part, that's because of me now having access to fiber. Like, we got it right before the lockdown and COVID. And trust me, it was a game changer. And I say to people all the time, one of the reasons I was so easily able to seamlessly jump in and go, just live every day with the COVID updates and whatever, was because I now had that fiber connectivity. I had super fast internet, and it made a world of difference in the quality of the image. The glitches that we were having in the live stream more or less disappeared. I could get better cameras and better equipment that required more bandwidth, and it could now actually be utilized. And not only that, but I was kind of, thinking about this morning as well, just how quickly things moved along. During COVID, when we went into lockdown, media struggled in Cayman, big time, traditional media, right? So they couldn't get into a room for a press conference. But because I was already using that technology, I'm like, oh, but I don't have to be there for the press conference physically. And I could still grab their feed, rebroadcast it to my audience and have it be watched. And people are like, how the heck is Sandy doing that? And it really is just trying to keep on top of the available technology and understanding how to use it. That for me was a game changer. But they say every cloud has a silver lining. The thing that forced me, Chuck, to be able to even understand the technology and get to that point was the fact that the previous government was prohibiting me from coming to press conferences. And I said, oh, you can stop me from physically being there, but you're not going to stop this train, right? So I had to think outside the box. How do I still bring this content to the people unaffected? And the average person sitting down watching it had no clue how I'm doing it, whatever. And they didn't care. They just cared that, wow, CMR has a press conference on today. Let's go watch it. The other media is like, oh, well, we don't know what to do because we're used to being in the room. And now that we're no longer in the room, and these are the big boys like the Compass, they didn't know how to live stream it. And I guess they may have figured it out now. I don't know. But, they always had
that's the key. Necessity is definitely the mother of invention.
The mother of invention.
Even in the DJ world that I dabble in, the technology has changed so much. I remember records, cassettes, LPs, CDs, MP3s. It is literally before you had to carry crates of records to do a party, a gig. Now you walk with your laptop and maybe your iPad, your phone is a backup. Literally, technology and people who haven't been able to make that transition have been lost by the wayside. It is literally now the most important thing in media is you, Sandy. It's the person that is the most important thing because technology has made it where anybody can do it. What makes you different is what you bring to the table. Your compassion, your understanding, your humanity, also intelligence, and also the feeling that you are giving to people who are not maybe technologically savvy. So you are updating them, say, hey, this is how you connect to my program. When you send out your feed every morning, I laugh and I say, I'm one of those persons because I don't want to go looking for that information. So when you send it out, it makes it easier. I feel that connection, like it matters. And that's what DJs, and I just use that as an example. When you walk into a room, you look at who's in that room to know what you're going to do. And this is a lot where business, especially in Cayman, and this is my opinion, a lot of Cayman businesses haven't upgraded by looking at who their customer is, looking at how the society has changed, looking at who is now buying my product. I know exactly who listens to my radio station because I'm one of those people. So things that matter to me will matter to you. So that's what I talk about. That's what I bring. That's what makes me relevant. And that way I can relate to you.
Right.
It's a very simple understanding, but it's so simple that some of the best money can buy don't get it.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
So Nigel says technology is great, Miss Sandy. I'm even watching you live in a public bus right now. Look at that. Leanna says award of the year for news and media is CMR. Dorothy watching from Florida. And Alejandro says Sandy's voice is contagious too. You just got to hear her every day. I don't know if that's a good thing there.
Sandy, I'm sorry. I gotta go. I gotta pay some bills.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your platform. To everyone, have a blessed day. Take care, and all the best to my Caymanian and everybody. All the best to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Chuck. All right, folks. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. What? What do you say, Alejandro? Your friends don't know we have a live? Oh my gosh. They need to get with the program.
And to what he was saying too, Sandy, I remember initially the way we wanted people to join, the broadcast would be through the broadcast link.
Yes.
And you found that
nobody wanted to do it.
Even you'll send a link out all the time, and no one wanted to join that way. So had to come up with another way through the WhatsApp, and you got your phone stuff up, even though Flo hasn't given you that toll-free number yet.
Hello, Ray, are you listening? But yeah, and let me say this as well, because there is a degree of tenacity that goes on behind the scenes, right? So my refusal to give up, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the numbers are, if the numbers dip on a live stream, I'm like, you know what, that's fine. I mean, we're still into the thousands, but whatever. I'm not going to give up just because I see a little dip in the numbers. It's like, okay, let's just keep going. Sometimes we'll change gears a little bit, like the Daily Buzz. We saw that people weren't really consuming that. And I think really it's because they were having a 3-hour morning show that gave them all the news and they could be a bit more interactive. So we said, you know what, the Daily Buzz doesn't really make any sense. So let's focus our energies, in different areas. Let's do the shorter clips where people can rewatch just a specific segment. And I must say, Kevin, that when I look at the numbers of people who were engaged with those versus what we were doing with the Daily Buzz, it was the right decision. Yep. Olga is watching from Paris this morning. We've got people from the UK. It's this level of connectivity with media that you can be anywhere and still be in touch with what's happening here in the Cayman. And you could be anywhere and still not only consume it, but also participate. Speaking of that, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the weather. And we're going to bring Anne in. She's been very, very patient. She finally figured out how to get that phone going. Anne, good morning.
I'm getting my first raindrops.
Oh, already? Oh my gosh. So good to see you this morning. So first of all, thank you for joining the stream and for just
figuring it out.
Sorry?
For figuring out how to get on.
We're just talking about modern technology. It's an amazing thing. But thank you for joining us. And of course, we do want to talk a little bit to you about what's happening in Florida. So the storm, we'll get the technical details tracking the storm here in a minute from Kevin. But tell us a little bit, my dear, about what you have done in preparation. Now, you're in the St. Pete area, right?
I'm in St. Pete, yes.
Okay.
I'm 12 minutes, 15 minutes from the Tampa airport.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a couple of miles from the bay,
Right.
But I feel pretty good. My area doesn't flood, or it hasn't flooded since I've lived here. I should say, not even the parking lot. But I feel good. I did my preparation on the weekend because, as most people know, I work night shift.
Right.
So I did everything, and I felt really proud and empowered when I drove by everybody yesterday in the chaos and panic. And
you were all ready.
Yeah, I was all ready. I did all my shopping, but I don't buy cooked food anyway. But I did all the shopping, and I will tell you. Let me see if I can show you how close Publix is to me. That's my community.
Oh gosh, so you can literally walk to Publix.
Yeah, I mean, there's a crosswalk, and I go maybe, I don't know, once a month, once every 3 weeks. But I went and did my hurricane shopping, and my hurricane shopping was, I paid $41, but I saved $35 with the taxes and the and the BOGO, So I'm prepared. I got all my devices charged. Michael was a gadget person, so I've got like maybe 8 ports for charging my phone during the time that I'll need it. But I'm feeling good. I decided to ride it out here rather than getting on the highway, and hopefully that was a smart decision.
Now, is this your first? Let me ask you, Anne. Is this your first hurricane in that area? How long have you lived in the St. Pete area now?
I've owned down here for a couple of years. Last year I rode Ian out with Dorothy,
right?
Bennett, and we rode it out. But she lives near the mall that she came on this year for this one. So yeah, so I've been here for that one, and we didn't have any major destruction. Can you see here? we don't even have big trees in my community by the building. So, I feel good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I rode a couple out in Brandon, and which is obviously further, but it's my thing is my fear is I don't want to be near a lake. I don't want to be there when they flood and those gators come up. And they take the chance. Yeah, but I'm doing everything's good. I'm ready. I'm not going to work tonight. So I'm just going to do it. Just not going to get on the highway.
Now you mentioned that you're putting up shutters just in case. So you've completed that process as well.
No. I mean, I don't have shutters.
Oh, you don't have any shutters. Okay.
No, I don't have. That's my building.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But you can see there's quite a few of us that are, they're staying here just because of the history of the place. We have this little creek, and I think that's the highest I've seen the water in it. But, nothing's ever flooded. So I'm just going to take that chance, and if worst case scenario, I'll get to the second or third floor with someone. So.
Okay. All right. So you're stocked up on your supplies. You've got people who are staying close by. So you've got your sort of friendship network of individuals that you can reach out to on the phone if you need to. For
absolutely, and I feel comfortable here, and everybody says, "Oh, well, you should evacuate." Living in St. Pete is living on an island. You prepare and you do the smart things you're supposed to do. You can't run every time the wind blows.
Yeah.
That's so that's just I've made myself think of it that way, living on an island.
And with St. Pete as well, the biggest threat with the latest track is going to be storm surge. So those who would really need to evacuate, which there are evacuation orders for, I believe, Zone A, which is pretty much the coast. It's not for when you hear an evacuation for a county or a city, it's not the entire area. They have it broken down in Zone A, Zone B, Zone C, and there's different tools you can use to be able to identify if you're in or what evacuation zone you're in. So the evacuation orders for her area is currently Zone A, which is just the coastal area, as well as those who might live in mobile homes, because again of the wind threat for them. But for the coastal folks, the folks that live along the coast are expected to get storm surge. So I saw someone had made a comment saying, "Oh, St. Pete will be fine." Okay. St. Pete's not going to likely get the worst of the storm. That now seems to be the likely probability based on the latest forecast models. However, it doesn't mean that St. Pete will not be impacted in a severe way because the tornado threat has gone up because of where we are. We're on the dirty side of the storm. In addition to that, the storm surge is still expected to be not a good situation for St. Pete and Tampa Bay area, even though we might not get the highest storm surge associated with the system. We still have storm surge that will be going into that area, which would cause areas that would be severely negatively impacted, which is exactly why the emergency management officials have said, we want you to evacuate. And if you don't evacuate, we're not coming for you until it's safe to do so. So again, you want to... Sorry, Ann, what were you saying?
No, I said that's how it should be. I mean, I'm treating here like I lived in Cayman, and I'm being very. I mean, I'm watching it every moment. Instead of getting on the highway, I would go south to Clearwater. I have a friend in Clearwater I can go to, and I'm just kind of watching it that way. But I feel pretty good about my decision to stay here. And, I get a lot of pressure from family and friends saying, "Oh, St. Pete, you got to get out of there. You got to get out of there." But, I'm more concerned. I'm sitting here more concerned because I got my two younger boys live in the Panhandle and up north, and they're right in the,
And
one of the good things about St. Pete, too, they have so many bridges that connect the rest of Florida to St. Pete. Some areas, they didn't have that. They had one bridge that did the connection. We got, I think, 4 bridges that connect. So if one bridge is down, you still have also other alternatives. And the one thing about the state of Florida, and whether you like the current governor or not, it really doesn't matter at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
Florida and also the governor does a very good job at ensuring all resources, like politics are aside when it comes to something like this, the resources are coming in. You know, I work for the state of Florida. I happen to also be the regional coordinator for public information officers for the state of Florida. So I do have a very good seat at the table to see what's going on throughout the state, because I'm the person that's going to be deploying different teams to help with public communications to affected areas. For the West Central Florida region is what my area of coverage is responsible for. My area is expected to be impacted, so I'm going to be coordinating with my other regional peers, and I'll be getting requests that's going to be coming in through to us, and I'm going to be filling the gaps where people might be impacted. So let's say the person that has my type of position might be displaced. Their homes, their families might be displaced, and they're right now they are working 24-hour shifts right now. They're working around the clock, putting out public information to the public on what's going on. They're going to need a break right after the storm passes. So this is when we have folks pre-staged, and once they say, okay, I need help, we're going to be deploying folks to fill in those positions. That's what I did after Hurricane Ian had affected Fort Myers and Punta Gorda. I was deployed because my area was not impacted. My regional peers needed help. I was deployed for a week, sleeping on someone's ground in an emergency operations center and working with the National Guard, putting out public information. So the way we had to handle that, remember, cell phone towers will not be up and running immediately. So you will not have cell phone signal. You will have no electricity. But how do I get information to the public? Very, very challenging, especially where the cell phone is so critical.
Right.
So in order, what we end up doing, the team that I assembled, is that we started printing, because our emergency operations center obviously is fully up and running. We have printers and everything, and each day we will get all of the latest changes of what was going on. We would print a couple thousand copies of it. I will then give those to the National Guard, who would go to different areas, such as your grocery stores, your Publixes that were going to be first to be open, in any area where there were people assembling and giving out that with the latest information. Every day at midnight, or every night at midnight, I would produce a new update, and that would go on out. We always had a QR code on it that linked to a website that we were keeping updated as things went on, came back online. Within a couple of days, we had the different cell towers reset up. There's temporary cell towers, so people started to get the ability to get the information via a website and that sort of medium. But there were a couple of days where it was, I need information, but I don't have a way to get information, but we still needed to get the information to them. So that was what we were doing, and what I did for my week of deployment but by the time I was demobilized and released from my deployment, it was much better off, because again, going back to the state emergency management team, Kevin Guthrie, it's funny because we both got Kevin, so sometimes when someone says Kevin, you hear in those meetings, people's heads are turning, but he's the main guy, he's the leader. And also with Governor DeSantis, also, he does take these things seriously, and he ensures he applies a lot of pressure to the federal agencies, which would be FEMA, as well as ensuring the telecommunication companies and all of the grocery store heads, like you're talking about, the big rigs at the Walmarts, the Publixes, the Winn-Dixie's, all of those top CEOs and stuff is on his, he is communicating with them and ensuring that they're doing everything necessary to get up and running, and the resources are completely flooded to them immediately. Again, with the linemen and stuff that are out there, with utility companies. We had a conference earlier this year. It was when we were actually being recognized for our deployment. So it was in January when we received the little award ceremony. And I remember listening to a presentation from the utility companies on what they do to stage the different folks to immediately move in as soon as it's reasonably safe for their crews to start restoring and the utilities. And it's amazing the hard work and the dedication that people are coming from all different states, and they're already on the way, and they're already pre-staged at a location waiting for the devastation to happen. And as soon as they can get there, they start repairing and get you up and running very, very quickly. Because if you looked at the pictures of, let's say, Hurricane Ian, and the time it took for them to get back up and running, it's completely amazing. So, yes, devastation will come from time to time, different areas, different times. At the same time, you're in a state that unfortunately has been through this a few times before, and we learn from every one of these things, and we're better prepared each and every single time. So you do your part to prepare for, what's going to happen regardless. And you know that help is on the way very, very quickly, but you have a responsibility to at least do enough to survive on your own for 24, 48 hours before other resources can come in to help you. And don't be stupid by staying in an evacuation zone when you have no business staying in an evacuation zone. If the county tells you to evacuate, because they're not going to tell you to do something unless it's really, really necessary. It's with the information that's coming in, it has the very high chance of something very bad happening to you and your property. Don't be there.
A couple of things. Kevin, first, thank you. I'm glad that you're on that group that we have with Caymanians in Florida, because I check there often. And so thank you for all the immediate information and up-to-date information that you provide us with. And of course, I know Sandy, there's a young lady, and I don't really even know who she is, but she posted on that page that she didn't know there was a hurricane coming until she saw you posting stuff about it, and, so obviously Caymanians up here are watching Mara Road. So thank you for that as well. But and yes, Kevin, Governor DeSantis, not just this hurricane, but other hurricanes, he has done a great job. And like you said, we've improved in everything. He's, everything is done, planned and, prepared ahead of time. But, going back to Ian, my son was down there in that cleanup. And when he called me, when he arrived, I can still hear his voice. He immediately reflected on Ivan. Was not a nice picture, and it still is not a nice picture down there, and so we have to do what we can to make sure that we're safer than some of those people were, and so I feel good about but you're planning, you prepare, and hopefully you have some saltine crackers afterwards that dry.
Yes. Well, Anne, thank you so much for, being willing to come on and just tell us what at least your preparations look like. Again, folks, this is Anne, of course, Mary Lawrence's one of her daughters, one of her beautiful daughters, and she lives in the St. Pete area, works at my favorite place in the world, Amazon. So is Amazon giving you guys... I was going to say, is Amazon giving you guys
I love my job there.
Yeah, are they giving you guys time off?
Well, my shift. Well, I left early last night. This morning I left a couple hours early, but my shift will probably not be in. I'm not sure. I mean, there'll be people in, but we don't have to clock in. But they respect any kind of orders that are given. So I'm not going to do it. If it was nearer, it'd be different, but I'm not going to drive across in that traffic. That would be silly. But and then I don't work Thursday. I'm off from Thursday to Sunday. So I should be able to go back to work when I'm supposed to.
Awesome. All right. I love
good. I'm happy.
Keep in touch with us.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm glad I figured it out. Good job.
Right,
I'm going to keep listening. Bye.
I appreciate it. All right, folks. Appreciate Anne again coming on the live stream there, giving us a little bit of an update on what's going on with her. So, Kevin, let's look at the storm. What's the latest? What do we know? Where is it heading? And when is it going to get there?
Yeah, so it depends on what area you're in to say exactly where it will, come on shore. So this is the 7 o'clock, which would have been 6 o'clock Cayman time updates. The one that I'll be receiving from the state the next one will be within the next hour or so. So I'll have some updated stuff, but I don't have that quite yet. But it is expected to become a major hurricane overnight as it passes offshore the Tampa Bay area and it heads towards Cedar Key area. That's where it's likely going to go onshore, somewhere in that area. And so they're talking about, one of the biggest risks with this. And the good thing, if you want to look at, all storms have different ways of the way it's created. But the good thing about this one, it's moving so quickly. So with it moving so quickly, it's going to be in and out. It's not going to be like a Hurricane Ivan or a Hurricane Dorian, which just sat. Dorian sat over the Bahamas. Ivan sat over us in the Cayman Islands. It's not one of those type of storms. This thing is just going to be in and out really quick. Less than a day's time, you're going to have your impacts and it's going to go away, which is really good when it comes to at least being over with it, and then you're able to start the cleanup process. But the Levy and Citrus counties, they're right now expected to have probably the greatest impact from storm surge, 8 to 12 feet. And remember, you could get knocked off your feet with about 3 foot of water. So 8 to 12 feet is horrible. And that's the storm surge. That's not the waves and everything that comes with it. When you add storm surge to the wave heights and all that sort of stuff, you're talking about something about a building high, a home high type of thing. So that is not a good news at all for those in Levy, Citrus counties, and anyone in those coastal areas should not be there anymore. They need to be inland as far as they can be from the coastline. Hernando and Pasco counties, 6 to 9 feet. Again, that is extremely high and dangerous storm surge. Tampa Bay area, we're looking at 4 to 7 feet. Remember, Tampa General Hospital is in an evacuation zone as well, even though they have a seawall, so they do have things in place to not make that hospital be as vulnerable. But it is still, that Tampa Bay area has some protections of the bay, but it's still expected to get pretty bad in there. And I know over the last day or two, they've been really making some improvements to ensure that their infrastructure is going to be safe for those who are in the hospital there and stuff. But again, outside of that, when you're talking about the St. Pete area, where Anne was talking about those coastal areas, they need to evacuate. They can't be in that area because they're expected to have some serious bit of wave actions, even though the track shifted a little bit more to the west, which means the impact will be not as great as it was looking like yesterday, but it's still not good news at all. It's still not safe to be in the coastal areas at all. Sarasota, 3 to 5 feet. Again, 3 foot of water of storm surge could knock you off your feet quite easily. So again, Sarasota area, even that's a little bit more south of the St. Pete area. Again, even them are expected to have some issues on their coastal areas, and also Charlotte and Lee County, which is where Ian impacted. Charlotte and Lee County area, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge is expected. So again, some of the biggest threats is the storm surge and the flooding. You want to hide from the wind and you want to run from the water is the kind of phrase that we use in the emergency management area. And because of the shift, the threat of tornadoes did increase, because we're now in that area where the way the winds wrap around. Tampa Bay area and a little bit more inland is expected to have a much higher chance of experiencing tornadoes, which again is not a good thing. You might not be getting the worst of the winds, but tornado winds are nothing you want to deal with either. So again, this graphic for those who are on the social media views, but of course I know radio cannot see the graphic, but if they want to see the graphic, definitely go on over to Facebook or YouTube. But the threats are broken into wind surge, flooding, as well as river flooding. So rain flooding, then river flooding, tornadoes, and marine. And so for the extreme, the worst, because this is considered a catastrophic system, the marine, the surge, the wind, those are all expected to be at catastrophic levels, extreme levels, not good news levels at all. The flooding from rainwater is expected to be significant. So, not extreme, but still significant. And then elevated for tornadoes. They're not at this time expecting river flooding, and that's kind of usual during a storm. This graphic will start to change after the storm, because as the water finds and recedes and finds areas to run off, it goes into the rivers. The rivers then will rise in their levels. So typically you don't have a whole lot of river flooding throughout the event of a hurricane or a storm, but it's after. We're talking about days to a couple of weeks afterwards, when all of the water is run off and into the river. That level now starts to go up. So this time next week, that's where you might look at the river flooding. And again, new advisories, local advisories will be issued for those who would be at risk of living inside those flood zones. So again, as of this morning, the storm is moving pretty good speed, 14 miles an hour, likely going to continue moving at a pretty fast forward speed, as well as is expected to make landfall sometime between Cedar Key as well as the Big Bend area. Somewhere in between that is where it's expected to make the eye is supposed to move on into Florida. That is north of the Tampa area. So again, that's where the latest track is looking like it's going to take it. And then just as I go through some of the other graphs, it does talk about the wind threat for the interior counties, like where I live. I live in Lakeland, Florida, which is kind of more in the center of the state. And so my area is expected to have sustained winds between 39 to 50 or 67 miles per hour. So it's 57 miles per hour. So it's going to be more on the lower end of the tropical storm force winds. And then over in the parts of Tampa and St. Pete area, they're looking at more of what you would consider to be a strong tropical storm force winds. That's 58 to 73 miles an hour for their sustained winds. And then when you get up a little bit more towards like your Crystal River and towards the coast from that area, you're looking at having hurricane force winds between 74 to 110. And of course, over in Chiefland area, Cedar Creek Key area, that's when you're going to likely have those more catastrophic winds of 110 miles an hour and greater sustained. But again, it's not expected to last very long. So, my area, Polk County, we're talking about my impacts will start probably around midnight tonight, and it will end sometime in the morning towards the afternoon. Between 9 and noon, it will be out of my area. For Hillsborough County, a little earlier, that's the Tampa Bay area. So sometime in the evening is when it's expected. So probably 6, 7 o'clock in the evening when they'll start to see the winds begin to pick up. And it's not going to calm down until, again, around the same time as me, 9 to noon in the morning. So overnight is when, we will be experiencing it. Pinellas County is where Anne is, over in St. Pete. Again, this evening is when they're going to start experiencing that elevated amount of winds, and it's going to go away sometime between 11 and 4, a little earlier for them since they're a little bit more south. They're going to experience it a little sooner, and the event a little, it's going to depart a little sooner than my area. And again,
let me I do have a segment, Kevin, that we have to play from Mr. Brainard Watler, who passed away this weekend, a segment of our Cayman Voices. But let me just encourage people, join Kevin's group. Here is the code. Please scan it, join the group. He's providing these same slides that you see here. He's providing those in the group for people who want a bit more information. The group is a way for Caymanians, both in Cayman and overseas, really, because, I've seen people joining it who, are here, but they have interest in Florida, or they're just very concerned about the Caymanians in Florida. And so they want to be part of the conversation. That's what this group is for, Caymanians in Florida. It was set up last year when Hurricane Ian, I think, was passing through, and it continues to be a remarkable resource to keep our community together. Airport closures are happening. Other things are going on. So link up the group, scan that barcode. If you have WhatsApp, it'll put you directly in the group, and then you can get all these details. Kevin, can we check in with you perhaps on tomorrow's show to kind of see how things are going and where you're at?
Absolutely, sure. And everyone, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll be in touch.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. So lots of information there again from Kevin. Link up the group. But I do want to take the time to acknowledge, I saw one of the comments said, what about the immigration issue? Hey, we're going to push that back till tomorrow. But I do want to take some time now to acknowledge the passing of Mr. Brainard Watler, a real stalwart, son of the soil, Caymanian seaman, has passed away over the weekend. And, you know, it's so ironic because this week I was supposed to reach out with him to try to follow up to do one of my Cayman Voices interviews. And unfortunately, he passed away quite unexpectedly. But, you know, when you have a particular age, hey, these things happen. So I've managed to put together, we've done short interviews with him. I had other people share clips with me. So I have managed to put together a little bit of a tribute this morning for a Cayman Voices segment on him. I am working on a second one that we might have in another day or so made available to us as well. But I want you guys to please kick back, relax, and watch this. So it's a compilation of videos with Mr. Watler speaking at different events and stuff. So you might see some segments where different people are speaking. Big shout out to Graham Ranking, who has contributed some of the content for this as well. You know, he's all about Caymanianism, Cayman culture, and putting people together, whether it's over food and encouraging people to talk about the old days of what Cayman used to be. And boy, Mr. Watler had some stories to tell. So please continue to watch, and our radio listeners continue to listen to this Cayman Voices segment. Cayman Voices was a dream that I had for several years now. It's about taking the power of storytelling to embrace our own collective history as a people. Through our individual stories, we're able to see the common thread that binds us together as one. One person's personal journey has become our collective culture, heritage, and history. This series will show people from all walks of life sitting down with me as the host and going through their life journey. Sometimes there are unknown elements of their lives, but ultimately we're going to walk away having learned something new with every person that we sit down with. I guess I would explain it as an exploration of our story. I'm naturally curious about people and their lives, so Cayman Voices is exciting and allows me to capture this for everyone to enjoy. We are seeking out Caymanians, multi-generational, as well as some who have moved here to, uproot their entire lives and to make this their home. This dream would not be possible without some sponsorship, and so I'd like to thank the DART organization for stepping up to the plate to ensure that we're able to deliver regular monthly content for our viewers to enjoy. So sit back, kick up your feet, turn up the radio, relax, and listen to Cayman Voices.
My name is Brainard Douglas Watler. I was born on South Church Street, the 24th of April, 1940. I am the son and only child of Royal Douglas Watler, who came from Gun Bay. My mother was Ina Hurston. I have lived here in this area where I was born. Daddy bought this property through Mr. Carly Merrin, who was a good friend of Daddy's. And it's been a very interesting childhood here. Hurley and Zelmley and myself raised close together. We were around the same age group. Edlin was older, Ermin and Darien, but we all got along good. But we had a really nice neighborhood here. And you know what? Still is, basically. It hasn't changed that much. Just now that it's changing some. The first experience I had, that was on the Merco, the wooden boat owned by the Merrins. And I joined her here. I think it was in March, early part of April. Somewhere around there, because I remember that I spent my 16th birthday ashore in Jamaica. Seasick almost killed me. locked in the wheelhouse with Captain Raymond from West Bay. And then we pulled around the extent that she started to move up and down. Man, I had one dose of seasickness. Reached Cayman Brock. By then things had settled down, and from there back to Jamaica, it was all right. And you know that was the end of me being seasick. The following year, I joined a tanker in Martinez, California. And the fellow said to me, "This is your first trip?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Boy, you gonna be seasick." I said, "No, I won't be seasick." I said, "See, because she's big, eh? You wait till you get out there, you'll find out she can roll." I said, "Well, she might, but I tell you one thing, did not seasick me." Well, Watler, how you feel that way about it? I said, "Marco cured me that." "And you've been on earth?" "No, we heard about it, but we never been." I said, "Okay." I said, "Watch it." Sure enough, they were right. Oh, yes. Hey, boy, she got up one month, she was rolling all about, and I look at some of them yonder, and you could see they wasn't feeling good at all. And I'm going with my little brasso and polishing and serving food and mopping, what have you. And I say, "Oh, yeah." I say, "Some of you don't look so good, though." And I said, "Not troubling me." So it never troubled me. And it was a good life in a way. You were provided for, you didn't have to worry about a job. In them days you couldn't even get a job here in Cayman, no matter. Couldn't even get a job to mix cement or nothing, because there wasn't anything going on. Just couldn't get a job. So that was secured. I had plenty of work to do. You didn't have to worry about something to eat. The food was there if you could eat it. You didn't have to worry about paying rent, electricity, or anything like that. You had a washing machine, you could wash your clothes. You didn't have to worry about all that sort of something. And it was pretty well set, each day what you were going to do. And it worked out all right. The little money was good to us. I started at $95 a month. But $95 a month was a lot more than nothing a month here in Cayman. It was okay. You took care of your little money, you could do all right. Market wasn't a pleasant all the time up there because you had weather conditions. You also had racism, depending on who the officers were, came from. And depending on what port you went to too. Up north, up California side, but if you went down the southern ports, then you run into a lot of racism down there. For sure, you couldn't go into the places. But on the whole, I tell you, it was a blessing to this island. A blessing to Cayman. Because once they got up there and that little money started to come home, like I always say, it was like when you put fertilizer around a plant and you watch it growing and growing and growing. The little thatch shacks came down, the little board houses went up, the thatch roofs came on, zinc went on, wooden windows moved out, glass windows came in, hinges from the door was there, didn't have to take a piece of leather and tack it on for the hinge. It was on there. Pretty soon, you see the blocks going up around the wooden house. Comes a block house now. People didn't have to worry about wampus anymore, they could get shoes. Got bicycles instead of walking. Then the cars started to come in. You would actually have to live in that time to really understand and appreciate how much the seafaring life did for Cayman. You have people now that says, tourism and this thing and money and what have you. No. A foundation was laid here, a good solid foundation. That's sea. It always been got all the stuff from the sea, because before that was Mosquito Key. We never was anything but a seafaring community. You couldn't do much planting because you don't have water, so. but the sea made a big difference. And you went out there and you learned. God, one couldn't read and write. But it was amazing the way that they could adopt and do things and go wherever they wanted to go and have, and make some money, send it home. Proud people them days, I don't know why, which things would change now. Well, the great thing what Consuelo did there, the year that she had that with the seafarers arrangement there, and the book, Southwell Years, National Bulk Carriers, oh boy, Southwell, yes, oh yeah. And Borden there, Roy Borden's father, name is slipping right there now. Dale Borden, he had been shipping people out of New York. And like I said, difference in the climate, difference in the food, difference in a lot of things. But people made it. They made it. Turned up good for us. Was a blessing to us. Without that, we wouldn't have been the same Cayman, not even today, as much as it's changing.
We load her up with sugar and flour and different things, and we leave town and keep stopping at the road and out there, trading. They had it fresh butter, cow's milk, or kosher work, and they get some flour, sugar, whatever they needed. And he would continue going right straight away to East End. And he come back down loaded with that broken firewood and stuff. So this is the 1st of August, and I'm still upset with government and our own people did that.
Yep.
You see? Stop the 1st of August, you got children here in Cayman, very few women full Cayman, but anyway. They need to learn. To change the holiday. All right. So it's 1st of August, and Dad is gone fishing. The warehouse is locked up. So Kwahu, come up the east over the side, man. He came up the road hollering, Mr. Royal. Mama said, son, why walk with Mr. Royal? He said, Mr. Ashford says to tell him to come and open that warehouse right now. He wants to go east trade and he needs to get stuff out of it to go trade with. Say, young man, you brought a message, will you take back one? Oh, yes, ma'am. He said, when you go back and you tell Ashford Mother that I say, if he don't know, that today is the 1st of August. Today is all niggers' holiday. And Royal is home, he's a nigger, and he's keeping it. Ashford must do the same. Keep the nigger holiday.
Niggers Day.
All niggers holiday. You didn't cut Medina Watler. Oh no. So about a week or two after that, she seen him in town. Oh, he says, the only reason I didn't come up after you, he said, now I had enough gas in the truck. He said, no, Ashford, you know better than to tackle me. You know better than. But he said, I don't know about Royal being a nigger, but I can tell you I'm not a nigger. She said, oh, yes, I can tell you. I know for sure you're a nigger. Oh, you coming from Jamaica? Yeah. For sure I know you're a nigger. You come from Jamaica. Because I was very surprised when I read Mr. Holmes.
Someone's book.
Yes.
The photograph is in there.
And they took the picture off the wall, remember?
When
you would go into the house,
yeah.
The picture was there, and then one time we went there, and you could see the space, and,
it disappeared.
And somebody asked, but why is the space? And I think Mr. Watler that went there. And they said, they took it down. And they were like the parents were like me.
Him and Miss Phyllis was married, I understand. But a long time, several months before they knew it, And old man go down here said if he had known that you wanted a man that bad, he would have chopped one out of our tree. Everybody is there. My mother, a diner, beautiful, big white woman, strapping, fine looking. Right, it's just what my suit her now. She married a Jamaican. He wasn't black. He had the ER onto it. He was blacker. Short little man. She's a big white woman. So, got a picture of them. Great-grandfather Rodriguez Watler sitting down, well dressed. And Dinah standing on this side of him, beautiful, tall, good-looking white woman, and this little black man on the side. So some of the family had been in the States for years, and they finally came back to Cayman. And they came to me, Brainard, would you by chance have a picture of your grandfather? I said, oh yeah, you got a picture of your grandfather, and I got a picture of your grandmother too, Ophelia. She was a Thompson. Okay, but we would like to borrow that picture from you to get some picture taken off. Would you lend it to us? I said, no, I don't think so. You don't think so? I said, no, I ain't gonna lend you my picture. Brainard, are you serious? I said, yeah, I'm very serious. I'm gonna try to shoot that picture. So, well, you never thought you would be like that, Brainard. You thought you could easily get along with. I say, yes, I am, but when it comes to this picture, I'm not sure.
What happened to that?
Anyway, so I tell you what, I'm going to show you the picture. But I'm going to give one a warning. If you want to take my picture, mess that up, it'll bring murder. You hear me? So I showed them the picture. I say, you got an idea what I'm talking about? No, not really. Yeah. I say, mine, over my better judgment, I doing this, you know. Don't make that happen. A week or two, they came back. Brainard, yeah. Here's your picture. Look at it. Anything damaged on it? I said, no, perfect. Now we brought you a copy of the picture we took off. Here. The little black man has disappeared.
Photoshop it!
He disappeared. I got a picture that was showing he disappeared. And all the curtain and stuff that was hanging where he was and he had black off, all of that is put back there. You couldn't tell that that's not original. It's impossible to believe the piece of the carnelian and everything that he was blocking out. All of that is there on that picture. Just him there. Just the little black man. The little black man.
McLaughlin, get yourself some snacks, man. Oh, so you not getting no snacks? Oh, you got some that south sauce.
Oh, yeah.
Got some that south sauce build up, you know.
I got too many records, but here
No.
now running with it.
Gathering of Caymanians. A gathering of Caymanians. Yeah.
Let me get my glass.
Gilly, how was the soursop juice?
Delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Somebody knew what they were doing.
that's Mr. Brainard. You gotta ask him what else he put in it. You might find yourself doing a little tingling there, right there. With a flute. The flute might be tingling there in a minute.
Alright. Okay.
Under the coconut tree.
I was just going to ask that and want to take a picture.
Oh yeah, video too.
Video it, yeah.
What do you think about the gathering? Have a word. Okay. We have Mr. Nobi in our midst, Mr. Shane Edwards. What do you think about the gathering of Caymanians?
I'm honored to be here among these great people.
Joe, what do you think about the gathering?
Good. Excellent.
We have Josie in our midst. Josie, what do you think about the gathering of Caymanians?
Very good.
Mr. Parchment, what do you think about the gathering?
Amazing.
Amazing. Dr. McPhail, what do you think about the gathering of Caymanians? Great.
Great gathering.
Sir B. Watler, what do you think about the gathering on your back porch?
Graham, you did an excellent job. I didn't think you could pull it off in the heat and everything, but you're right. You're to be commended. Excellent job.
And thank you for having us. Seems like your house is open to us all the time. We have the mighty Mr. Rose here on the violin, who always do a good job displaying the old Cayman songs.
On the coconut tree.
Under the coconut tree. Yeah. Mr. McLean, what do you think about the gathering of Caymanians?
I love it.
You heard it from him. What do you think about the gathering for Greater Woman? Brown sugar.
She not came, she came, bro.
And all what how it is? Not all Caymanians are Brackers, but all Brackers are Caymanians. That's how they put it.
Yeah.
Well, I live with everything.
Yeah. Mr. D. Ramon, what do you think about the gathering of Caymanians?
Excellent.
Mr. Marvin Johnson, what do you think about the gathering of just Caymanians? Nice to have you guys here. Yeah. Look at the dog. Doc. P. McLaughlin, what do you think about the gathering of all these Caymanians?
Rare.
Yeah. Lucille Seymour, former school teacher, elected member. What do you think about the gathering of all us Caymanians?
Excellent. I grew up like this.
That's how we got to get it back.
Right.
Osi, what do you think about the gathering of all these Caymanians?
Excellent. Let's do it
More often. Mimi, while you're over there with my good friend and cousin, what do you think about this gathering?
This is a beautiful gathering, Graham.
Without politicians. Without politicians. Mr. McLaughlin, what do you think about this gathering of Caymanians? We gotta do that. Huh?
Video with this as well because I need type. Okay.
Good job there. Good job there, Big Rose. You're doing an excellent job. I hope now Samuel Rose don't be like Cousin Radley in East End. Or cause he'll be all day, cause we got plenty of corned beef sandwich. They tell me as long as you had corned beef sandwich, Mr. Radley play all night. Oh yeah. He said, kid, look over there and see how much them sandwich left there. He said, Daddy, the only two. He said, well, we got to wrap it up now. He looked back and said, Daddy, they coming with another tray. He said, kid, keep playing.
You know where he originated from, right?
My apologies.
Haiti.
Grim.
The Grzongs came from
Joseph,
from
Google that.
Haiti to Jamaica.
My apologies, though. I got one.
Joel, you know.
Okay. Nice to have you.
Boy, it's been a pleasure having you, my God. Get on the first last time, okay?
No, man.
Get on the
Rolling.
This song comes from one of the midnight march that starts at 12 o'clock on Christmas Eve.
Right.
And that's what the men would sing when they come to your house.
Right, yeah.
And then you would give them money, or give them cake, or give them rum, or give them anything.
Right.
Anything, and they would carry, borrow, the coca stock, and then put everything in it. And then in the morning they would finish at Scranton.
It's a Calvin yard.
Yes, and they'd have a all day fete there. Share up what they got.
That's right.
And they would drink rum.
That's right.
And have a dance there.
That's right.
So that's where the song comes from. And of course, and they believe that England had everything in those days. Part of slavery is like what Roy Boyd said. We used to say. The song we used to sing when we go to school. What was it again? England never shall be England. England never shall be slave.
England never shall be slave. Rule the
Daniel rule the
waves. And England never
rule the waves.
England never shall be slave.
But at Christmas, we used to sing this song then.
England have a money and
England got the money and Jamaica got the rum. England got the money and Jamaica got the rum. We go marching on. Yeah. Great glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. We go marching on. Hip, hip.
Big turn from Mr. Brainard. Hip, hip.
Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
It was said that the sun never sat on the English flag, God that is sat in one place, someplace else.
That is so powerful.
That empire has.
That's what was said. Now, I was happily, pleasantly surprised to see that gentleman in the back.
Married Catherine Thompson, and they had 4 sons and 1 daughter. The daughter is the grandmother of Mrs. Mary Bowerman. All the MacTaggart boys by that marriage were members of Emsley, and I know that for sure 2 were elders, William Henry and Malcolm MacTaggart. William Henry had 2 sons and 2 daughters, Innes, Fred, and Leela, and another daughter that moved to the States early in life. Both Fred and Innes were elders of Emsley, and Fred was also a lay pastor. Fred MacTaggart is the father of Beth Rolston. And as the best I can work out, Beth and Mary are the only 2 descendants of the MacTaggarts that still worship at Emsley. And my relationship to the MacTaggarts is through Leela Alberta, recently named a national hero. She was my grandmother, and she served for over 30 years as organist, the last 10 years here in the new church at Emsley. She literally took part in almost every function that the church had. She was quite a leader, and she fulfilled many other roles, right until she was unable to attend and take part. My mother or my uncle, who are only 2 kids, I don't think I ever got involved in Emsley. I became involved in Emsley from a very young boy because grandmother made sure from the time I could walk, I had to come to Sunday school. I attended Emsley from then. Never became a Christian until I was 40 years old because I think the church didn't do a very good job making us understand what being a Christian really was. We came to church, got baptized, it was assumed that that's what it took. But when I was 40, I realized that when Reverend Bailey first came to Cayman, that being a Christian was more than that. You had to put your whole faith, trust in God and make Him ruler of everything in your life. And that's when I decided to be a Christian. And certainly done a very poor job in many occasions, but I trust that God will continue to lead me to follow Him all the rest of my life as well. I've served at Emsley as an elder, Sunday school teacher, home group leader, and for quite some time now, until the end of this month, as a member of the corporation that holds the assets of the church. So that's basically a quick history of the MacTaggart's involvement. But I forgot one very important person was Dr. Roy MacTaggart. Dr. Roy was the son of Frederick S. MacTaggart by his second wife, Annette Eden. And Dr. Roy was a very committed Christian. First Cayman, as far as my research shows, that ever went away to get a university degree. He got a Bachelor of Arts degree from Howard University and went on to Atlanta to study dentistry, where he got his DDS and came back as a dentist. Was very successful as a dentist, as a businessman, became very rich, and was an elder at Emsley. He was a very giving person during his lifetime. He gave, he bought the first electric organ for the church. He provided the stained glass windows above the altar, and he paid fully for the second story of this church hall. So he was very committed with his funds and his generosity to the Emsley congregations. I think it's on. It's on.
I am prepared to follow up on something that Eva just said about the stained glass windows in the church. Dr. Roy had the lumber come up, special lumber, some real lasting lumber from Belize, I think it came from. And he employed Harry Arch, who was a real good skilled builder, to make those frames for those places there. And he hired Buddy Bush and myself to install all those glasses around there. So that part of it, that's how Dr. Roy was. He was a great supporter of that church. The church, in those days, was very few people there who had any little money at all. And working there at the time, putting those in, Mr. Fred, very nice gentleman, elder of the church, Fred MacTaggart. He came there and was visiting with us and chatting with us. And he told me that all of those pieces in that church, those pieces under there, the curved pieces like that, all of them aside, one was cut out of one log that drifted in South Sound. That was a big log to supply that amount. All but one of those pieces came out of that. They had a history out there in that church. And I noticed some time ago, I understood that they were working on the roof again. And then they told me that, I said, I bet you it's the north choir room that is giving trouble? And he said, yes. How do you know? I said, we repaired it many times. We were never able to get it completed to stop all the gave trouble inside there. I don't know if anyone else here is present here now that can say what I can say. I was christened in that church. And I was so pleased when I went back there today and I seen the baptismal stand is there, right where it used to be.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the other table, the communion table, is back there, the mahogany one, because some years ago there was a little plastic one that was put in place there. Wasn't happy with that. You were.
I can say I was there.
Okay, Niels was there. Niels was there. Under Reverend George Hicks. Under Reverend Hicks. No. Under Reverend George Hicks. And that is where I got this name from that gives people a lot of problems. Brainard. He gave me that name. The Douglas comes from my father, but Brainard came from the Reverend George Hicks. He named me off of a missionary, David Brainard, who was missionary up in America there. And he was an American, and he was a missionary to the Indians up there. But he was supported by the church from Scotland. They supported him. David Brainard in Minnesota was where he was. And many years after that, long years after that, there was a man came here, a hatchet, and he did repairs for me for my drill rigs and things. And he said to me, he thought, he says, you know, we have a little town in Minnesota named Brainard. I said, okay, that's what I was named after. The town was named after me. I was named after them. So it's a lot of history inside there. You know, my mother was a great leader and lay preacher and everything else inside there. I have a little pulpit there for the church up at Spots. Several years ago, many years ago, she decided, because talk was up then, that property would be sold. And Mama was, a lot of other people were against it. Oh, no, that can't be sold. So Mama went around and she collected up money from different people, donations, and she brought the church back. Basically fixed it back in pretty good condition, and she went up there and held services in that church. She would also hold services into Robert Young Memorial at Crew Road. And Daddy was an elder there, but Daddy was a very quiet man. You didn't hear much from him at all, very quiet. But my mother was a spokesperson. That is where I get this gift of gab from. Yes. Oh yes. But I tell you what, she made it known exactly how it was. No hard feelings, but she told you exactly how things went. There was one time, many years ago, this is many years ago, of course I'm 83, so I tell you how long ago that's been. And there was a function going on in that church that night. And things was not going as Watler thought they should go. So she got up, she told us, oh no, stop right there. This is the house of the Lord. This is not the town hall. You know, those days we had functions at the town hall. When you go to the town hall, you can do that, but you cannot do that here in this church. Well, a lot of the young men, I know, were upset about what had took place, but that didn't worry Mama.
I remember that when
all right. And one of the people, young men, who I think was among the most insulted, long years after that, he met me one morning in front of the bank in town, and he said to me, he says, you remember when your mother did so? I said, yes. And he said, I'm very upset. I said, yes, I know it. But he said, let me tell you something. She was right. She was perfectly right. And it's a pity that we don't have people in the church to stand up the way that she stood up. He said that I knew he was very upset. And I thought about it afterwards. I said, well, it finally came that way. Because when he first started to talk, I didn't know whether he was going to give me a blast then or what. And I tell you. Anyway, I think I better not talk anymore. Better give Brenny a chance now.
Yes. It's a saying, raise the child. You see when you raise the child and you don't turn away from it. Yes, I remember like what Hebert said, you had to go to Sunday school. And I was active in Sunday school. Every Sunday I had to dress up and walk coming down to Sunday school, which I had a choice. I said, I'd rather go to Sunday school and stay home, because you stay home, you had to take them big old walk tablets. So I go to Sunday school, so I had to take the tablets, And but they would keep me there. So because I was so into Sunday school, I still keep going and there. And then, yes, those days you had like Miss Bevo Parra, who was a Sunday school teacher, and Zoe. You had the Johnsons, they was all Sunday school teachers. You had Mark Tiger, and and so I just keep going till I get active, till I become the bell boy, ringing the bell. Then from there I started ringing the bell in church, taking care of the church. That time you had Miss Frances Borden, who just had a house down the road there. Mr. Inksley was the treasurer, I had to deal with him. One time Mr. Inksley gave me maybe in loan 2 and 6 pence pieces. And in loan 2 and 6 pence pieces, they said, remember where who the mom said, yeah, that's what they had paid. So you know, but anyhow. And but ringing the bell, look, I get back to ringing the bell. Ringing the bell was on Sundays and on Wednesdays. We had to order the bell for Sunday, and then you had to go back and ring the bell for when the pastor was coming in. For those days I was Reverend Laurie was there then, pastor. And it was a joy to be doing that. We had to come on Saturday. Mr. Like he said, Dr. Roy McTaggart would give the organs to clean that up. I noticed that all the pews and all everything is the same way too. All the little sign that used to Brasso with the people names and the church, all that is still there, great. And then we had to do all of that, So, but the funny part about it, I was about 60 pounds or 65 pounds, so when I go ring the bell, the rope would kind of ease me up. So I just had to carry a friend with me to hold me, or the two of us would have that ring, That was fun. It was also fun when they had to go up there, which was for us, because we didn't know no better, but then it was fun for the family that somebody had passed on, what they call toll the bell. So you had a big ladder to go up there on the first platform, then we go up to the other one, which they had little windows that you could look through, in the song used to go through that, and we would just take the bell by the hand and bang, till the song go up. Them days I wish I had something like air and then bang. And now the song used to go pretty distant around. So the people like them days used to have what we would call tongue, where you have most of the local used to be working at the dock here, or where the people hang out by the post office, or you would have most of all the seamen come in sitting on the wall by where they call this the sea wall by the Meriden. So you didn't need no telephone them days, like you ring the bell. You told the bell, people start knowing, checking to find out who had passed, how can I hear and everybody just kept going, and So that part was really fun for me. I'm gonna come back to the ring of the bell and tell you what we I get a nickname from too, but before that, like I said, I was so active in the church with that, and then after that I leave. I was so active that after that I got a job as the governor's messenger boy at the governor building because of the church. And then from the church I went off to sea, and a couple of months when I come back, there I was driving bus for Christian Endeavor. Every time that they go anyway, it was happy to know a partner again, Miss Beaver, them all over the place with them. Go to East End, this way. And that was fun for me too. That was good memories, because I always remember the children singing on the bus when we go. I remember one of the songs that I still sing there now again, that my mind is made up, my heart is set, and I'm going all the way. That children would sing that good from town to East End. That was something. And then on Sunday time, I was active again, coming in on Sundays. I had to pick up the children. I did that for many years to come to Sunday school. I would start from Shade Road, pick up the Ramones children, and I would go on to pick up the Markfield Bell. Maybe some of you might know who Bell, you know, we pick up the kids down for Bell. Then we go all the way up to Crew Road, pick up the McLaughlin children, yes, the Premier and all of them was a picture of the Sunday school, and the arts children. And I did that for a long time in the bus that everyone started to get the old car and people go off and things. So I had a good memory of being around the church here, and it really, when I come in this morning today, like, wow. I remember when I come in and used to come into the back. One day, I was very active in football. I was still doing the church that time. I get me a little Bible first bicycle off and doing with Miss Francis. Because Miss Francis allowed me. Miss Francis, boy, that allowed me. Beep, beep. And they used to have prayer meeting on Wednesdays. Used to have to come in by 7 o'clock, ring the first bell before 7 o'clock. And Miss Francis had a lady living up by the name Miss Ivy. Miss Warner never eased me up with that, Miss Ivy. But that was, her and Miss Francis was very closely together. Now, those days when someone passed off, they would normally keep them by the house. No, we didn't have no telephone, we didn't have no message to tell anyone, but I'll play my football and I forget I had to go ring the bell. So I'm on my way rushing down by minutes to 7, pretty dark. Now the lights for the church was over in this side of the church right there, the light switch, and then on that side where the pastor was. And the church hall was across the street. It was a house on the school, and used to use that for the government school, the church hall. So I never know that they have bring this Ivy and put her inside of the church, and they went over to the church hall to have the church meeting. So when I come in through the door, not the way the bell door, and when I get by the midway we call the south side, because this was the north side, I see this coffin, we call it coffin MD, not casket, this coffin inside the church. Of course, I just come for football, I could run, I could do. And I tell you, I hit her on top of them. I was on top of you, like I see them children at school. I jumped going down trying to get in through the front door. Then I couldn't get out, then I come back, I come through the side door. And I'm like, nobody did tell me that they were putting Miss Ivy in the church. I come to ring the bell. Come finally had it. So I was older and Miss Ivy was in there. And oh, that was a memory for me. When I went home, I said, Mom, what's going to happen to you? I said, they put Miss Ivy in church, nobody did tell me. Nobody tell me, and that's a nickname that I had up to now. A few people do like this. They called me that for a long time. It's Ivy. But you know, but my days, the church here was very, very interesting. I love it. I enjoy it. I enjoy ringing the bell. And so when I come in and I look up and they'll say, my mother would always tell me, say, you know, say, your grandfather had Mr. Rock with Mr. Real on that church, you know, he had been a roof and think he was a good job. I say, yeah, okay. That's good, you know. But there was my time in there. So I just want to say that time there was good. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to remember that. Okay, thanks.
We're going to have Mr. Nielsen and Mr. Brainard will come.
Let me give you a little bit more. I should have did this early on, but I kind of slipped on it. There is the cards that we were issued at Sunday school when we went to Sunday school. You got the gold stars for all the time they were present. Any time that you were absent, you got a red star if you were absent or if you were sick. I have quite a few of them. Here is the teacher at that time was Beulah Johnson, and this was in March the 26th, 1950. I have quite a few more of them there too.
And then the final one that I have was shifted a bit different. And this was given to me on the 19th of May, 1957. So I'm assuming that this is probably the last one that I would get, because shortly after that was when I left to go to sea on the tankers. And from then on, I guess I didn't find myself too much in church anymore after that. It was a disappointment to my mother, very much so, very much so. But I don't know, things changed a bit. And Mary's grandfather, Mr. Hurston, used to sit and stoop in his front yard Sunday morning when me and Daddy was walking, coming out, taking me to Sunday school. I can see the old gentleman there. He said, "Come in. That's mean you have a little fight now. That's me have a little fight now." And every Sunday morning, Sunday school, then we had Christian Endeavor, and we had a church service, of course, too. And one thing would annoy my mother if I stood up there and I didn't sing. Just stand up and you're not singing. And well, she would get very annoyed at that. Very annoyed at that. But another thing that used to give me a problem was, you know, if you managed to get one pair of shoes, that was all that you could get. And I was growing fast. So pretty soon that pair of shoes was a problem to me. And I can see myself now hobbling out. And as we get out to Belfredowi, you were going south, and Daddy would sit me down on one of those tombs there, and he would turn back on and grab that shoe and pull that on. You hear what a relief when that came off, then I could walk home barefoot. There's a lot of memory, a lot of history in that church there, a lot of it there. And both sides of my family, Daddy's family was all Presbyterians, Convent Watler. Uncle Desmond, the thing was in there for him today. And Mama's people, both sides of her family, her son were Presbyterians, and her Watler people were all Presbyterians. So I'm what should I say, a full Presbyterian. They came from a full Presbyterian family, yes. And Nikki has been giving me some the programs recently, and I've been long to meet the pastor here now, and he promised that he's coming to sit and chat with me. And I know one thing, Mama, you're happy to see where I am today. I know that. Thank God. Made her happy one more time.
Good day, everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I am the Watler. I must say, I was christened in the Presbyterian Church there by Reverend George Hicks. I was 85 years ago. And I can remember Mr. Hicks, first I didn't joke about him. He was a stern preacher. I remember as a boy, when he was doing a wedding, so he asked this young man, "Do you take this woman to be a true and what? True and lawful wedding?" And the guy said, "Certainly yes, Mr. King." I said to say yes or no. No, certainly yes. But I enjoyed going to Sunday school, which it was a must. It was a must. We had to come here, so my sister, my brother, myself, and my cousins. And we all used to meet at my grandmother's place on the Skipper Lane. And we always had to come here to church, to Sunday school on Sunday. And I remember, years ago, when you saw church in the night, the south wing was always filled with a lot of young men, a lot of young men used to come to church on Sunday night. But I think what happened to that going to church so much on Sunday, when we all start going to see that we just keep dwindling down like that. So I don't know what to say. Thank you all.
One more thing I'd like to say too, on Sunday night. For those of you that were afraid of rock bats, church was going on in them days, they used to see every now and again, you see a little rock bat that just fly around the church up there in the night, because they used to have a little nest about in the roof. But of course I know they're not there now. And when Mr. Ferdinand would play the music, when he hit the keys so nice and going, you could just every now and again see one little bat just fly up, just circle around and go back in. But there used to be the days up there, so I just want to say that, and for they used to play the music, and everybody used to look forward when he come back from sea to get on that organ to hear him going, and then Zoe used to play the organ, I remember her, and I remember Noel very active, Miss Effa, about people, the John, Miss Johnson, all of them, they was all people that I will always remember them in charity name just because I have learned a lot from them. Tit was one of them too. They're active in church in the Amslet going on, and I remember when they used to have the cooking, how you used to have you used to have mother cooking the cassava cake, and you have Bell cooking the rice and bean, and you have Francis, all of those people just everybody just look forward to coming to get that kind of meal from them. It was really, really good old time there in them days. And I just want to say, that's it, good old days.
Just another input. I remember one night in church, the boys was in the back, wouldn't behave themselves. But Mr. Mix ripped off in that pulpit and grabbed the two of them by the hair. Bang! And they hit together. I'll never forget that. I think one of them has gone on now.
I remember growing up, it was always in Amstel Church. But one thing I always remember is Reverend George Hicks. He was, as was said early on, he was a very strict preacher. And I remember some of the young children, he would always look to see the children when they came into church. And if they came in eating a candy or chewing gum, he would stand, especially when he was in the pulpit preaching, he would stop and he would look and he would point his finger at that individual child and he would call their name. Get up and go outside. You're not supposed to be eating in God's house. Man, that child, he made us feel shame, but he was very strict. And he was a good disciplinarian. Also, I remember my favorite Sunday school teacher when I went to Sunday school was Miss Gwendolyn. I'm sure everybody in this building can remember her. Gwendolyn. They used to call her Gwendolyn Cooking. Gwendolyn Thompson. Yes. She was Miss Sunbeam's sister. And she's Miss Gwendolyn was a lovely woman. She was superintendent. We had Sunday school, as Brainard said, in the old schoolhouse across the road. And it was a schoolhouse. And then also on Thursday evenings, we would go there for Girls' Brigade. Well, it was Girls' Guild in those days. And that was led by Ms. Olive Miller and Miss Elizabeth Torstad. Arlene is here, Arlene Campbell. We were all in Girls' Guild together, and we had many, many wonderful years. Amesnet is a church that I think all of us have memories, good memories of. I hope that this generation coming up would spend enough time to listen and learn from us older ones, because this generation, as far as I'm concerned, they're not interested. It's all the computers and modern technology is all that they're interested in. But we need to try to instill in them and let them know exactly what Amsley was about and what Amsley still is. So my prayer for Amsley is God will continue to strengthen each one. Give us that foresight and let us move forward in this new generation, this new era, and may God continue to bless us, each one. Thank you.
I remember when I went to Sunday school here, Rita Bush Thompson, blessed memory, was my Sunday school teacher, and another time it was Miss Madden, she binds now. And I remember Friday nights we used to have worship for the young people. It was a sand hole up the front here with the iron shore, and we used to go there and roast hot dogs and marshmallows and eat and have a wonderful time, fellowship together.
I know I'm a relatively Johnny come lately, it's only 53 years. I'm just working it out, it's exactly halfway. When I came here, it was exactly the same time as the time when the church was built. But Mr. Otto, my father-in-law, used to tell some wonderful stories about Reverend George. I'm not even going to, it's not the place. But I would like to say one very serious thing. I remember the very last sermon he preached. Now, I don't have a very good memory, but I do remember this. Right here in Elmsey, before he finally couldn't do it anymore, and he took the text from the end of Deuteronomy that many of you know. The eternal God is your dwelling place, and underneath are the everlasting things. That was his very last sermon, as far as I know, that he ever preached. Reverend George Hicks, a fond memory.
Your wife like to speak?
I doubt it.
Speak for her. She might surprise you today.
She might. You see, I know her. After 53 years, I should.
All right, folks, so good afternoon and welcome back. We're here with Mr. Brainard Watler from South Church Street, who's joining us this afternoon, and he's here to give us some information on the gravesite in Prospect that we were at earlier. Just a bit of history and who is there and what his connection would be to some of those people. He has a wealth of knowledge and information, and he's going to share just a snippet of that with us today. So good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Miss Sandra. Thanks for coming by.
Yes, thank you so much.
A friend of mine sent me that this morning on my little small phone there, my little cell phone, because I don't get all of this stuff on these other Facebooks and stuff like that. I'm an old guy, I'm 81 years of age, and I don't learn all that sort of something. I just take life easy now and go along. So it was very interesting to hear what Miss Sandra was saying there. So I decided to contact her and give her a little buzz. So after a bit, I got the number, called her, and this is the result of it now. I've heard her there this morning asking some questions, and I'll do my best to try to fill in some of the answers for you. The Watler situation there, Winston Watler and his wife Dora. Winston was my father's brother.
Okay.
They actually lived in an old family home that is Aunt Dora's family home, just a little bit on the Georgetown side of where that graveyard is now. That family there consisted of Uncle Winston, Aunt Dora, and Aunt Dora's sister, Myrtle. Her Aunt Dora's father was a man by the name of Leecroft Eden.
Right.
Her mother was one of the Farrell, from the Farrell family. A lot of people don't realize, but it was quite a nice family, size family there in that area. And that area was known as Spring Gardens.
Wow. Okay.
And it was Herman Farrell and his wife, Miss Janie Farrell. And they had some sons, and I think that's where you find them buried there. Carl Farrell from up in Low Valley is actually the grandson from there. And Aunt Dora's people is all in there. And then the Farrells had Miss Janie, and them had some daughters that married away, and that is where the Brown come in yonder, some of her people there.
Okay.
And so it's a mix of surnames in there, but they're all originally connected somewhere along the line there with the Farrells in that area there.
Now, I personally, and of course, I don't know a whole lot of Cayman history, that's why I love speaking to people like yourself, but the Farrells, where did they come from? Because that name doesn't sound quite as familiar. Do you know anything about where they were from?
I can't say exactly where they were from, probably someplace. Farrell probably from, if you look it up, you'd probably find out it's probably from Ireland or Scotland or somewhere there.
Yeah.
Because what you have to realize, Miss Sandra, is that here in Cayman, we are a very mixed race of people. Very, very mixed race.
Yes.
So we have a few that the surnames have continued to go on, but you have some of them that the surnames are finished. There's still some Farrell surnames here though, because Carl Farrell and his brother Monty only died here, what, a year ago, and I think Monty has a son that's going by the Farrell surname. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But they were Jana Farrell's and Herman Farrell's grandchildren. Their father was Carlton Farrell, and Carlton Farrell was married to Miss Elvira from up in Low Valley. So they lived up that side of the world. And then it was also Ashby Farrell was Mr. Herman and Miss Jane's son. He lived there in the house. I don't think he was all that well at the time. And then Uncle Winston's little boy is buried there. As far as I remember, he was like about 4 years old when he developed some infection, and he passed away.
So that was the little small grave that I saw. Oh, wow.
The small grave that you saw, yes, ma'am, that was his grave. Though some of those vaults there, I actually helped build those vaults.
Wow.
So I went way back into it there.
Yes. Okay.
Family connections and what have you.
So that is actually a private grave site.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yep.
Now, you are also asking about the lady there, Miss Dolly. Well, Miss Dolly is actually from Bodden Town. She was a Jackson. And I guess I would be okay to say that Miss Polly, who does the nice corned beef sandwiches, that's her aunt.
Okay.
And she was originally married to a Harvey Farrell.
Okay.
But he left Cayman, and like a lot of people who left Cayman, especially the men, they never came back. So he went, whatever, if he died over there or what, I don't know. And then in long years after then, she married the gentleman from Northside, Mr. McCoy. So that is why you see her going there now by McCoy.
So despite her remarrying, she still basically got buried with her husband's original...
With her husband's original people buried there in that private graveyard of theirs there.
That's interesting.
Very interesting. Uncle Winston's, well, his father-in-law, Lee Craft's house, like I said, was just a little bit on the downside from that graveyard. And then in 70, 71, 72, somewhere around there, we took that house down in sections and brought it and put it on Uncle Winston's house lot there in Halfway Pond, which is right across the road there from Amelia's restaurant,
right,
where I have some apartments now.
Okay.
That was his house lot from his Watler family.
Okay.
And that is where Aunt Dora, Uncle Winston, and Myrtle resided then for many years. And then both of them developed with cancer, and they passed away within a few months of one another.
So that's the grave that I saw, because I thought it was so interesting. One was born in like, I think it was 1909, and then the next one 1910, but they died literally, one was like May and just months apart.
About 6 months apart.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that I know, because I stayed there, me and my wife Maisie, stayed there and took care of them through all of that time yonder.
Wow.
It wasn't an easy deal.
Yes.
And
So back in those days, you would just move a house, you would disassemble it and move it.
well, that would be the one way that they could get it. It would
Yeah.
not be that expensive, because even back then, you know, you just didn't get things for nothing, that's for sure. So the family home was there.
Right.
And as far as I know, Aunt Dora did not have any brothers. She had another sister, Vera. And Vera had married to a Thompson, and they lived in America, up around Cadillac, Michigan, and about up there is where they're at. And then after Uncle Winston and Aunt Dora passed away, Vera's daughters took Myrtle up there with them for a while until Myrtle passed away. They also had a brother, Herman Farrell. Herman Thompson, I beg your pardon. Thompson. And that's what you see there, had Herman Thompson. That is Aunt Dora's nephew then, in other words. Her sister Vera's son.
Right.
He used to come out and visit with them there at Crew Road. I knew him. He was a big man. He had beautiful straight black hair. He looked almost, his hair like it would be, you know, Indian type of hair. White man, but they were nice people. And Myrtle was like an angel, a lovely little soul. She never got married. She was a lovely person. And so was Aunt Dora. They were all good, solid, decent, kind people. Aunt Dora worked for all her lifetime, I guess, for Dr. Roy McTaggart in his places in Georgetown. And life, you know, was Uncle Winston was actually in charge of the customs up the airport yonder for a long time. He was in the civil service there.
Okay.
He's a brother to Uncle Winston and Daddy, my father, Royal Watler. That was a big family, you know. It was 9 children, 7 sons, and 2 daughters.
Wow. Now this this uncle that you're speaking of, he would have been younger than your father?
He was younger than Daddy. He was some of the youngest ones. My father was among the oldest ones.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Very interesting.
But that's what took place in that little cemetery there, and it's private.
Yeah.
And I still wonder if removing those 3 graves. It's, I guess, kind of new here for us in Cayman. Another one of our new ways to go. But I'm still wondering whether it is going to be worth the problems and the upheaval to do that. How much more can that help that situation up there with the traffic? Just moving 3 graves?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, but you know, I'm not in the government and I don't make the decision. So all I can do is just, you know, go along with it. But to me personally, I don't see the advantage of it. It's like I always heard about, my mother says, like the Paddy's Pillar case, come to more than it's worth. However, you all might all understand that it comes to more than it's worth. So that's, you know, but those things happen.
And this concept of moving graves, it does seem, even in today's time, to me a little bit strange, but in days gone by, that's certainly not something that would have happened. I mean, you'd find a way to move the road if you had to before you moved a grave. The graves was, you know, who can remember back, the graveyards were always well kept. People kept going each, at least Sunday time, weekend time, putting bouquets on, sanding the graves, and especially in West Bay. Oh my goodness, beautiful to look at. But nowadays, most people don't remember where the people are buried or anything like that. And we're changing and changing more and becoming a different people for some reason or the other. Yeah.
I hope it'll be for the best, but to me personally, no. I prefer my old time ways when, like I was just telling Miss Sandra here, how close me and her father was. She didn't know all of that. Yes, oh yes, we all lived here together in this area. And we seen one another all the time. We knew exactly who was what. But I could tell her some stories, but maybe some it would be good on this area, in this area here. Anything more you want me to add to that, Miss Sandra?
No, I think for our purposes, but we're going to be talking to you hopefully more because, like I was, you know, telling our audience, our listeners, that we're going to be having these segments called Conversations With, where we really dig into Cayman history. Because your history as an individual and as a family is collectively our history as a people.
That's correct.
You
That's
know?
correct.
We're all,
That is correct.
Connected. We're
all there again, and I'll probably get a black eye for saying this too, but dig down, far enough down, and you'll probably find out that somewhere along the line we all share the same root heritage.
Absolutely.
People don't believe that, especially when the race business is played into it. But more or less, that's exactly how it is. That's exactly how it goes.
Yes. And I think, you know, even as we become more modern and we kind of transitioning, for me personally, I understand that if we don't know our history, well, we're doomed as a people, you know, because that plays such an important part in just our overall progress and where we do want to go and what our vision is for the Cayman Islands. I thank you for reaching out, first of all, and for being so willing to speak with us this afternoon.
I agree with you there, and it's a known saying, if you don't know where you come from, you won't know where you're going.
Absolutely.
And that is for sure.
Yes.
And I am proud, very proud of my heritage.
Yes.
I consider myself humble, but I am very proud of my heritage. I come from a very mixed race of people.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Watler. I certainly enjoyed this segment with you this afternoon. And we'll be back soon.
Good. I look forward to sitting and talking with you. I'll tell you one thing, a lot of it that I'll tell you, you won't want to put on your program, that's for sure. But it will be good.
We'll put it all there.
It will be good for you to know exactly what is what.
Yeah. No, our listeners, they want to know. They want to know the ins and outs and the behind the scenes stories. So.
Whoa.
Oh, yes. That's why we call it the Mall Road, you know.
That's true.
Because we want it all. And we know you guys have quite a number of memories and stories to share.
Yeah, you better believe it. You better believe it. You better believe it.
Well, thank you so much, my dear. Really appreciate it.
Okay. You're welcome. Keep in touch.
I can see the willows waving on your southern shores as the breeze it gently whispers through the trees. And the song I hear you singing floats across the distant shore, and it seems to say, my child, come back to me. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. I can smell the salty air upon your harbor, as the northwest winds they blow across the sea. And I see the foaming whitecaps as they break against your shores. Like a distant drum I hear them call to me. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. And although a distant sea has come between us, and I've been to many ports in many lands, I can see West Bay beaches with its shiny coral sand, and my heart it longs for you, oh Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. Come back home to your island, for I long to see you walk upon my sand. For my shores, they belong to my children, and my children belong to Grand Cayman. For my shores, they belong to my children.